It's May 2011. You're hearing about this new show about a cat and a fish. It's not like Adventure Time or a regular show. It appears to be its own thing. Skeptical, you check it out. Little do you know its impact would last for a decade and more. Here lies the greatest Gumball Iceberg you'll ever see, until the movie comes along and blows it out of the way with more theories and suggestions. It's cold, wet, and seemingly endless. And I plan to take you on that journey, but before we go, we gotta prepare for the descent. Iceberg videos are somewhat vague in their presentation. Oftentimes when watching one, it could be ordered from obvious to obscure, innocent to disturbing, fact to theory, or any way that the creator wishes to present it. Here we're going from obvious and innocent to the most dark, twisted, but also obscure. You might want to grab a snack, because this will take a while. Above the ice lies the obvious, even to non-fans. If you're a fan of animation, these 12 topics shouldn't be too obscure. Penball. The most well-known relationship to have formed throughout the entirety of the show that didn't already occur is what is referred to as Penball, or Penny and Gumball. Gumball being the main character of the show, and Penny being a major character of the Fitzgerald family. The first instance of this would occur in the episode The End within season 1. In this episode, Gumball, believing it to be the end of the world in 24 hours, would rush into not just a relationship, but a full-on marriage with Penny.
I'm gonna be late for my wedding now.
Wedding?
Yes, Darwin, my wedding.
Speak now, or forever hold your peace.
Actually, I've got more than one reason. Firstly, I'm 12, and so are you. Secondly, you didn't even propose to me. You're just trying to marry me in the school corridor.
Hey guys, happy wedding!
While unsuccessful, Penny would express her interest in it in the future, which would be solidified in episodes such as The Party and The Meddler. The former being her trying to bring Gumball to a party via a date, and the latter being Gumball admitting to Penny via his mom that she's cute. These hints would continue on into the pivotal episode, The Shell, in which through Penny's transformation, formerly as an anthropomorphic antlered peanut into a shape-shifting fairy, Gumball would admit his feelings in a very grand moment.
You really think you could love?
That's not what you are. It's just how you feel. And this is how I feel.
It's the most prominent relationship within Gumball the show, and has episodes in every season that progress it, despite its seemingly episodic nature. The Inquisition. The Inquisition is the last episode of The Amazing World of Gumball, airing June 24th, 2019, being the 204th episode overall and the 44th of the 6th season. Other than the notoriety that comes from it being the finale of the animated show, the reception was mixed due to its unresolved nature, not feeling as grand as both what it built itself up to be with episodes like The Future, but also not tying up loose ends that we'll get into later in this iceberg.
Everybody knows the crescent is the shape of the slacker, the hammock, the despondent Frenchman's croissant, the moon that's too lazy to turn a man into a werewolf.
But what do you want me to do?
Stand up straight! Better. Now, detention.
Plenty of people, especially those who don't actively cover Gumball, covered this episode in particular due to its polarizing nature. It's also known for its human depiction of certain characters that come from a mysterious but somehow all-powerful school superintendent that wants to make the world of Gumball a little less cartoonish. We later learn that this is Rob trying to warn them of a greater enemy on the way.
You fools! I did all this for a reason! Don't you understand what's going on in Elmore? You have two choices. Live in ignorance about what's gonna happen here, or listen to what I have to say. It might just save your lives.
However, giving more questions than answers, Ben Beauclair, creator of the show, has gone on record saying that he did not want to end the show that way. The current consensus of fans of Gumball is that hopefully the upcoming movie addresses some of the stones left unturned. The best SJW Controversy. The Best is a season 5 episode of Gumball in which it deals with the back and forth conflicts between Carmen and Gumball attempting to have the higher moral ground. It's the 32nd episode of the season and Carmen's second major role within an episode, the first being The Storm, a season 2 episode, another one involving the abrasive chemistry between the blue cat and green cactus.
Also, your branches are really cool. It's like 2 arms raised. Makes you look like you're always winning. Or like you're wearing one of those giant cowboy hats.
Although featuring an ongoing narrative about the idea of being morally right or on the right side of history, this episode is mostly known for a scene towards the middle of the episode. Gumball, in an attempt to one-up Carmen with his so-called moral righteousness, is seen downloading data from a site called Rambler, which, directly quoting the wiki, is, quote, a parody of the social media website called Tumblr, although there is already a website of the same name in real life. He'd used this newfound information to his advantage in a viral scene, which made its way across a number of social media sites that would include videos such as YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and predictably, Tumblr.
Have you ever tried whole grain bread? It's far better for you. Not everyone can afford organic stores, Carmen. Maybe you should check your privilege.
I just meant that eating too much processed food is a big factor in weight gain and
what? Big people shouldn't be proud of who they are?
No, of course not. I mean, ask your doctor and he will tell you.
He? Why would you assume the doctor is a he? Is it because you assume a woman can't be a doctor?
What is this?
Once again, reading directly from the wiki, quote, when Gumball uses his social justice warrior powers against Carmen, he uses many words, check your privilege, and behaviors, promoting fat acceptance, claiming sexism, self-righteousness, that are often seen in certain Tumblr communities. While polarizing in its reception, it received praise for its accuracy and ability to translate a real-world situation into the world of animation targeted towards a young audience, while also receiving criticism describing the scene as forced and being, quote, fake woke, attempting to apply commentary on a surface level and grabbing the lowest hanging fruit to appeal smarter than the average animated show. I've also reviewed it on this channel. Gumball Clipshows. After the premiere of the final episode, The Inquisition, Cartoon Network would go on to release a couple of projects after that, while not counting as additional episodes, are some of the most recent material to be released around the show, not counting the movie if it's already out. These miniseries, or clip shows as some call it, are built off of previously existing episodes but are marketed as their own miniseries. The first one, named Darwin's Yearbook, premiering December 2019, is a 6-episode miniseries that, quote, features Darwin attempting to complete Elmore Junior High's yearbook by examining who he thinks should fill up the best spot.
Dear Orange Watterson, I need a student to design the school yearbook. I'm asking you because I can't remember the other kids' names apart from the Blue Watterson, and he's here in detention. Kind regards, Principal Brown. P.S. No hurry, but it goes to print tomorrow morning. Welcome to the real world.
Wow, you're really good at his voice.
The second one, quotes The Gumball Chronicles, premiering over the course of October 2020 all the way to June of 2021 and possibly beyond, revolved around various Gumball antics, including a creepy mystery of Elmore which featured the scarier side of the first 6 seasons, to a Mother's Day themed episode revolving around Gumball, Darwin, and Anais finding the perfect gift, to even ones themed around the 2020 United States presidential election.
If you play this, it could be the last thing you ever play.
That's terrible! Littering our beautiful parks!
While not giving much new material, the general consensus seems to be mixed to positive, with most waiting for the movie. The Puppets. The Puppets is the season 5 finale of The Amazing World of Gumball, premiering October 6, 2017. While season 5 has had a lot of standout episodes that a lot of casual fans know of, such as The Choices, The Copycats, The Matchmaker, The Best, and its season premiere, The Rerun, the second half of the co-episode, The Disaster, what makes The Puppets extremely notable from the bunch is its collaboration with comedy horror musical web series Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, created by Rebecca Sloan and Joseph Pelling.
Thank
Thank you, Master Gumball. I missed you greatly all these years.
The web series combines live action, puppetry, and animation similar to The Amazing World of Gumball, which made it a solid fit. The episode primarily goes over Darwin discovering his old childhood toys and getting absorbed into their world alongside Gumball. It also features a guest animated scene towards the end in the Don't Hug Me I'm Scared style, which reportedly took 3 months to make.
Ah! What the what? What happened to me? Wait, what?
If that worried you, sir, I advise you not to look down.
There's also a miniseries called Waiting for Gumball, which expands on this world, and both the miniseries and the puppets have a positive reception from its fans and broader audience. The Calarts Accusation. Towards the middle of the last decade, there was a growing sentiment that a large number of popular American cartoons, particularly those from Cartoon Network and Disney, appeal to the same crowd and art style. This has been dubbed the Calarts style, a style that has been thrown at shows such as Steven Universe, Star vs. the Forces of Evil, Gravity Falls, Adventure Time, OKKO Let's Be Heroes, The Amazing World of Gumball, and a few others. Depending on who you ask, you'll get a different answer on what the style is. However, this GIF will generally get the point across. This controversial topic has sparked a number of discussions, included but not limited to similar art styles in modern animation, the amount of risks taken in animation or lack thereof, and the toxicity of the general public who either view or viewed animation, among others. Depending on who you ask, again, this statement either has nuggets of truth that most fans will stay willfully ignorant about because it may be deemed a personal attack on them and their values, or is an exaggerated and tiresome line from those wishing to generalize the movements of modern animation with rose-colored viewpoints of the past, and or mediums such as live action or anime. The transformation of Penny. Penny Fitzgerald has gone through a few transformations throughout the entire show. Not counting the early reel, her first appearance was an antlered peanut. She had a round shell with tannish orange sneakers and tannish and white wristbands.
Oh, Gumball, thank you! It was so brave of you to sacrifice your dignity so I can get on the team. I guess that means you do like me. Just a little. Peanuts. Ponies.
Towards season 2, the design for Penny changed. Her shell was slightly curved, with her antlers becoming smaller and having one less eyelash on either side. She, alongside her sister Polly and her mother Judith Fitzgerald, would all have that curvier look. However, Patrick would remain the same. She'd retain the same shoes and wristband, however. Of course, this would all change in the shell, where Penny would receive a crack in her shell from Gumball, and her family would advise against cracking any further. Her new form, at least her base form, would feature a yellow to orange gradient shapeshifter look, having a more slender look while gaining less empty eyes, having wings, and retaining her antlers. Within that episode, her family, albeit her father primarily, weren't too positive about the new look, deeming it to be ugly. This sentiment would be addressed in the episode The Transformation, in which Gumball would be called in the middle of a tense family argument between the two.
Well, that bird forced his whole family to stay in their eggs, and you know what happened? They died!
Of boredom for the rest of their lives.
Oh, yeah. I think I get the moral of your story.
Exactly. He should have let go of tradition and just let them be themselves.
No, should have made him wear 2 shells.
Her new look was met with a positive reception among fans. Gumball and Darwin's voice actor changes. Voicing kid characters is a job that has various different approaches. Sometimes adult voice actors may voice children within animated works, but not always. In the case of Gumball and Darwin, they've had an ever-changing cast of voice actors, which oddly their younger sister Anais did not, being voiced by Kyla Ray Kowalewski throughout the entire series. Gumball has been voiced by 3 different voice actors within the main series, but 5 in total if you count the early reel and the Gumball Chronicles. Darwin has been voiced by 4 different voice actors, 5 counting the early reel. One episode focused on this behind-the-scenes event titled The Kids.
Now listen to me. I have a very specific set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career in real estate. If you never call my daughter again, that will be the end of it. But if you do, I will look for you. I will find you. And I will build a house around you with no doors.
The episode premiered June 5th, 2014. This season 3 episode explored the concept of Gumball and Darwin's voices breaking, particularly after their mother says no one stays young forever. They go throughout their day being inconvenienced due to their voices, as people assume that they're trying to get free passes for the things that would only work if they were the kids that they said that they were. Gumball attempts to call Penny, and her dad would answer, thinking that it's a creep. They try to ask for kids' tickets for the bus, and the bus driver assumes that they're trying to cheat the system. They try to ask Larry for where the cookies are in a supermarket, but since they can't control the volume of their voice, they're kicked out.
Sir, I'm gonna need you to calm down.
We are gone!
Don't force me to use force. You need to take it down a notch.
I can't!
Fine! Did you ask for this?
Actually, I'm not allowed to do anything but ask you to leave the premises peacefully.
Thinking that their lives are over, they decide to sing a song about doing things that kids normally do, which leads them to realize that they're in the 1% of people who actually never grow old. While this isn't the case, as this is when their voice actors change, it was a clever way to incorporate the seemingly troublesome task of casting actors that go through puberty and thus cannot perform the voice that they once could. Breaking the fourth wall. One of the things that the Amazing World of Gumball is known for is breaking the fourth wall. This is one of the selling points about the show, and often the go-to for casual fans when describing what they enjoy about the show. The show liberally takes a lot of its writing, philosophy, and humor from the more meta aspects of everything, whether through being self-aware, self-referential, or using the surreal and grim to drive home their commentary. In fact, breaking the fourth wall happens so often that there's an entire wiki page dedicated to chronicling its appearances. If I were to describe quite possibly my favorite and often the most talked about instance, it'd be The Money, in which the concept of society and existing breaks down in a visual way that I haven't seen before, with the animation devolving back in quality, with a lot of elements cleverly removed to further emphasize the idea that, quote, without money, you're nothing. However, there are also many other times where the characters talk to the viewer, interact with things on screen in a way that would imply that they know of an audience or otherworldly force existing, or say things that you wouldn't conventionally expect to hear in an animated show where you're supposed to suspend your disbelief. The backgrounds are real locations. Gumball, the show, prides itself on its lack of stylistic unity, with a lot of its art style being composed of many parts. Coming straight from the wiki, quote, also, unlike most cartoons, it uses backgrounds from the real world, due to the reason that the creator worked on commercials for the UK before creating the show, learning how to give a realistic feeling to the background, end quote. A lot of locations within the show often come from places within the United States and the United Kingdom. The famous Watterson house is actually in California, with the Fitzgerald's house being within the same area. Often, the buildings of Elmore take a lot of elements from San Francisco and Vallejo. Elmore Mall comes from a shopping center in the United Kingdom, Chanax Inc is an actual place within California, and even Carrie's house being within Amityville, New York. However, the most notable of these locations is Abraham Lincoln High School, within San Francisco, California, which is used as the exterior for Elmore Junior High. In fact, the three front doors were altered to represent the three main child characters, Gumball, Darwin, and Anais. These locations remain as iconic as the show they came from. Guest animations. While some people enjoy the social commentary that the show cleverly weaves into its humorous episodes, and some may enjoy the fourth wall breaks, and some may enjoy the overall art style, others tend to highlight the occasional guest animation that is welcomed wholeheartedly within select episodes. While I do have a video going over some of my favorites, I will highlight some of the more prominent ones. The season 4 episode, The Fury, deals with a mysterious woman arriving in Elmore and challenging Nicole to a fight. Later within that episode, we'd get an anime-style fight scene that includes said woman, Yuki, Masami's mother by the way, and Nicole, animated by Studio 4C. In the previously mentioned The Kids, the song Make the Most of It has a guest animated segment done by C.R.R.U.P.T Collective.
Because when you're a kid, you dream of many things, like being a ninja dentist or a wizard cop with wings. We can fight a shark barricade with a sword made of swords, be the best at everything and win awesomeness awards.
The also previously mentioned episode, The Transformation, featured a 3D animated segment done by Julian Glander.
I think the princess could look a bit better than that.
Right, sorry. Oh, sorry, that's not what I was trying to do.
Come on, I look as if I could lick my own forehead.
Sorry, let me just,
Okay, whatever. Just get on with the story, please.
There's also the guest animated segment within the Season 5 episode, The Weirdos, which were drawn by kids, but animated by Tim Webb of the Royal College of Art.
You think I'm a weirdo, but look out your window. It's my decision to make the world my vision. When I walk down the street, everything looks quite sweet.
These segments have made decent episodes memorable, and great episodes iconic. Hopefully those 11 segments were all easy to notice, remember, and identify because they'll become a bit less known as things go on. We've reached the tip of the iceberg. These are still rather easy to know and hopefully shouldn't take too much time to explain. Darwin's full name. While most people know Darwin as Darwin Watterson, that is not his full name. In the Season 1 episode titled The Party, Tobias's older sister Rachel throws a party under the condition that everyone brings along a date. While a pretty interesting episode already, being the second major appearance of Penny, this episode revealed Darwin's full name.
What's your name?
Darwin, Raglan, Caspian, Ahab, Poseidon, Nicodemus, Watterson III.
You don't seem so bad for a kid.
Obviously, having the longest name of any character within the show, his name is composed of several possible references. His name, Darwin, comes from most likely the scientist Charles Darwin, most known for his theory of evolution, which goes hand in hand with Darwin's origin story in which he evolved to have the necessary parts of his body that he needed in order to meet Gumball again after accidentally being flushed down the toilet in the two-part episode, The Origins. Coming straight from the wiki, Raglan may refer to the HMS Raglan, a World War I Royal Navy monitor vessel. The name may also be a reference to the township of Raglan, New Zealand. The town is well known for its surfing, as well as a rare subspecies of dolphin. Darwin has been shown to have an ability to utilize echolocation, as dolphins do. Capsian is generally thought of to refer to the Capsian Sea, another nautical reference also being the largest enclosed body of water, but also has been theorized to be about Prince Capsian, a character within the Chronicles of Narnia series. Poseidon is a reference to the god of seas, Poseidon from Greek mythology. Coming from the wiki once more, Nicodemus the Haggarite was a saint who lived from 1749 to 1809. He was purported to possess a love for all things, much like Darwin's seemingly constant outlook on life. Nicodemus was also in the Bible, being reborn as a Christian. This parallels Darwin's transformation from ordinary fish to a reverse mermaid. The third is most likely a reference to Darwin not being the first fish that Gumball has, shown in the game but also in the Origins.
Okay, everybody say cheese in 3, 2...
Season 1, 2, and 3's art style. The Amazing World of Gumball has went through a lot of stylistic changes throughout its show, given its rather new concept within the animated world. One major change is how most of the characters would get a different look as the seasons went on. Take Darwin for example. You would notice in Season 1 his eyes were very ovular, pretty much rounded rectangles, having a hard shadow under him, which almost looks like a shirt. Slightly crooked sneakers where the lines of the top of the shoes point upward instead of straight out, and 3 eyelashes. Compare this to Season 3 and onwards where his eyes become circular, his shoes directly straight, his shadow more transparent, and his eyelashes go down to 2 each. You can see this change primarily within the Watterson family, with their eye shape being the most notable change. However, other 2D characters like Penny, Carmen, Tobias, and Juke being other notable examples. However, Tina, Bobert, Clayton, Ocho, technically in one episode but also in general past Season 2, and William are also other characters that got a massive shift in their art style beyond Season 1. This is common within most shows and isn't particularly unique to Gumball. However, a lot of core fans have discussed which style they like the best. Personally, I enjoy the earlier style, but I don't hate the modern current style of the show at all. This isn't counting characters like Rob, who did change their style, but that also has to do with an in-universe reason rather than the artists refining their craft. Junky Janker. Nicholas Cantu is an actor, voice actor, animator, and comedian who served as the third voice actor for Gumball, replacing Jacob Hopkins, and later being replaced by Duke Cutler. One popular fact about him is that he has an online presence under the name Junky Janker, in which he posts a variety of highly edited, partially animated comedy videos of whatever he wanted. It could be a storytime animation video one day, Q&A another day, vlog another day, unboxing another day, skit another day, and they all racked up an impressive amount of views. However, at the time of recording this, his last video was posted months ago. This could be because of his newer roles within shows like The Walking Dead at the time, or different interests at the time as well. He's also known for working with notable YouTuber Call Me Carson, in which during a video, Nicholas performed lines for a fictitious Gumball episode within Minecraft.
Yes, let's sell books to this community. Us the Watterson boys. Yeah.
For context, that says drugs if you can't tell.
Oh yeah, I didn't know how to pronounce that.
Say that under contract.
Yeah, thank you.
So we put an asterisk there so that you wouldn't have to say the D word.
The D, yeah, I appreciate the concern.
Carwin. While not as notable as Gumball and Penny, Carwin represents the confirmed canon relationship between Darwin and Carrie, a supporting character within the show of a ghostly existence. We know of episodes such as The Party and The Pressure, in which Darwin would be somewhat intimate with Rachel and Masami respectively. However, it wasn't anywhere near serious or legitimate as the episode Halloween, in which after being turned into a ghost to enjoy the party that his former mortal self and Gumball couldn't see, he would kiss Carrie, stating that it was something that he wanted to do for a long time.
You've completely turned into ghosts, which means I can finally do this!
This would be further explored in The Scam, in which, reading from the wiki once more, Gumball uses the thought of getting closer to Carrie in order to tempt Darwin into following through with their scam, causing him to have a brief romantic fantasy about her. Then, when Carrie required a body to possess in order to eat the candy they gathered, she sheepishly asks Darwin to borrow his, causing him to get nervous as well. Later, Darwin expressed great sadness when Carrie was about to get married to Gargaroth, and whisked away to the underworld forever.
Nothing can make me go along with this dishonest scam.
Not even to get close to Carrie. If she's gonna eat all that candy, she'll need a body to possess.
However, it wouldn't be until the matchmaker where their feelings would be displayed the clearest, as not only would they be officially dating, but it would continue past that episode into episodes like The Drama, where Gumball, concerned for Darwin's relationship, tries to investigate more into Carrie's former relationship with Azrael. Gumball's fear of spiders. Arachnophobia is the intense and irrational fear of spiders and other arachnids such as scorpions. This trait of Gumball is presented nowhere better than in the episode The Date, premiering November 28th, 2011. This season 1 episode deals with Gumball misconstruing a date with Penny with attending a funeral for her pet. Within this episode, on multiple occasions, he'd meet with the minor character Mr. Cuddles, a pet tarantula of the Fitzgerald family.
Hey. Oh, thanks for coming, Gumball. You look, dressed. I guess you should come in.
Well, that's one way to get in the house.
Right.
While it is widely stated that tarantulas rarely bite people and said bite wouldn't even be that much harm to a human, Gumball was sent into a coma via the multiple bites from Mr. Cuddles, whom he found alive, leading the Fitzgerald family to be very relieved and even happy that Gumball came over, as they originally thought he was flushed down the toilet.
Mr. Cuddles? You're back! I thought you were gone forever!
Where did you find him?
In the toilet somewhere.
Gumball, this is amazing!
Oh yeah, it's great.
While this does lead into questions such as how Gumball is able to fully function around Ocho, given that Ocho is not only an 8-bit spider compared to Mr. Cuddles being a tarantula, Gumball has already been shown to be quite afraid of Ocho and his anger problems in episodes such as The Phone, where his anger got so out of hand that Gumball and Darwin had to fight for their life. Yuki and Nicole's rivalry. The Fury is the 37th episode of Season 4 of The Amazing World of Gumball that premiered August 19th, 2016, revolving around a mysterious newcomer who enters Elmore specifically to start problems with Nicole. We'd learn more about the past of Nicole. Later on in the episode, we'd learn that this newcomer is Yuki Yoshida, wife of Mr. Yoshida, who owns the Rainbow Factory, a relatively successful company in which Nicole works as a saleswoman there, and also mother of Masami, the spoiled rich girl of Elmore Junior High. While Nicole is hesitant to fight or explain anything, Yuki makes it clear that she is not going anywhere until Nicole answers her challenge. Later on within that episode, Masami explains that Nicole and Yuki were best friends when they were younger, studying martial arts under Yuki's father. Both of them were extraordinarily good and crazy competitive, which came to an aggressive and chaotic height when the two ended up meeting with each other in the final tournament in which Nicole came out on top. This both explains why Nicole is crazy athletic and aggressive, but also why Yuki wanted to challenge Nicole in the first place. However, do note that this rivalry, as far as we know, for the most part, has been settled, as through the danger of their collective children, they end up working together and talking through their problems. This particular fight scene, however, is viewed quite positively within the fanbase and beyond as one of the best scenes of the series. Summer of '83. The Laziest is the 11th episode of Season 1, in which Gumball and Darwin try to beat their father in a lazy off. This marks their first appearance of Larry's alter ego named Lazy Larry. Within this episode, there is a running gag about the topic of the summer of '83 being cut off before we know what happened.
Will Lazy Larry please come to the checkout? Lazy Larry.
No one calls me that anymore. I stopped being Lazy Larry years ago.
How come?
Well, it all goes back to the summer of '83.
Can you just tell it quickly?
While minor on the surface, between the senior citizens, Larry, and Richard, they all have fond memories about this particular summer that a younger Richard and Larry participated in. The most we can get out of it is that Larry used to be the laziest person in Elmore, dubbed as so, thus his apathy towards work became notable. However, within the summer of 1983, a younger Richard would take that title, and as far as we know, that is where the title remains to this day. While Larry loathes the idea of turning back into Lazy Larry, even doing the seemingly impossible task of taking up an incredible amount of jobs, that summer appears to be highly influential in Larry's life.
Lazy Larry!
Lazy Larry, huh? Why, that's a name I haven't heard since the summer of '80.
Nobody cares about the summer of '83!
Sorry.
There are a few theories about other things that happened around that time, but none of them are confirmed within the episode. Flash games. While Flash games are a thing of the past when it comes to Cartoon Network, with a lot of its current focus towards apps, crossover games, and PC and console gaming, with the amazing world of Gumball spanning over a decade with its presence, it has its fair share of Flash games. Due to the end of support by Adobe, a lot of games are lost to the sands of time, or practically view only through web archives. At the time of writing this, only 4 games remained: Disc Duel, Snowstoppers, Remote Foo, and the assumed to be sequel, Super Disc Duel 2, which appears to be a crossover game. However, the wiki has done a great job in preserving some of the other titles, such as Battle Bowlers, Pizza Apocalypse, Class Spirits, among many other titles. Gumball's real name. The name is the 7th episode within Season 3, premiering July 10th, 2014. After getting a high score and being able to type his name into the machine, with Gumball being too long for a 3-space word, Darwin suggests going with his real name, to which he didn't know.
Zack.
Upon learning that his full name is actually Zach Christopher Watterson, his middle name coming from the Season 1 episode The Club, his entire behavior would change into something like a stereotypical jock, extremely egotistical and also memory warping to shape the fantasy of his life to match the supposed coolness of his first name. Nicole and the rest of the family would rush to town hall in an attempt to change his name and thus change back history. It is there where we would learn that Zack is an entire character that also exists within Gumball's mind that Gumball would have to fight in order to gain control of his body.
Well, my friend, looks like you brought a stick to a bazooka fight.
What the what? Stop messing with my memories, you cheap punk!
Cheap this!
This? What does that even mean?
This episode also featured Ocho within it, but he was removed for reasons we don't know. Alan and Carmen. Knowing Carmen from the previous layer of the iceberg, Alan is a supporting character, a very friendly, kind, and charitable teal balloon, who draws the ire of Gumball, who envies his general reception, reputation, and reactions towards anything that he does. Straight from the wiki, Alan and Carmen both love each other very much. Their relationship is so perfect that other people, filled with envy, want them to fail. The only problem with their relationship is the fact that Alan is a balloon and Carmen is a cactus. Balloons are prone to popping upon contact with spines, and cacti are prone to being covered with spines. Their relationship has been under some stress, like The Storm, a season 2 episode that premiered July 31st, 2013, in which Gumball destroys Carmen and Alan's relationship and spends the majority of that episode having to reunite them. It's reasonable to assume that a large percentage of the fan base would consider their relationship to be the most genuine within the show. There was also a minor scene in the season 3 episode The Saints, in which Gumball would show a series of photos of Alan cheating on her with everyone, which were fabricated. Being confronted on it, Alan not saying anything to help in the situation would just have Carmen leave him.
Where does this leave us? What am I supposed to think? Carmen, I love you too much to tell you how to feel. Well, I'll tell you how to feel! Single!
However, in future episodes, they are shown to be just fine. The finale. The finale is the final episode within season 2 of The Amazing World of Gumball. It references the previously assumed to be swept under the rug consequences of prior episodes, such as the Colossus, where Hector destroyed the town, the microwave, where Kenneth, an invention from the Watterson family, also destroyed the town, and various other episodes in which the Watterson family has caused harm and misery to those who happen to be in their sights.
Look, just pretend to hit me with the handle and I'll go down. Good plan. On 3. 1, 2. Oh! Good acting.
The primary concern for the Wattersons is that they wonder why the consequences for their actions haven't simply gone away as they usually do. In this episode, they get hefty fines and are also sent to prison for additional crimes within this episode. It is a rather interesting concept that deals with the fourth wall in one of the most interesting ways within the series. Gumball decides to deal with these consequences by adding on more problems, which should level out the previous problem. It comes to a peak when Gumball and the rest of the Wattersons are left fighting off the entire town, whom they reference more problems that came from previous episodes.
This is it! It's all over! The end of the Wattersons! The only thing that can save us is reality being completely reset by some kind of magic device!
That's how it ends, with the season 3 premiere of The Kids not acknowledging the events of the finale, instead going on as if it didn't exist. The Amazing Anime of Gumball. While The Fury is a canon version of The Amazing World of Gumball diving into the world of anime, there is a non-canon version which has racked up over 77 million views at the time of recording this. Created by digital anime artist Mike Annell, this video takes the audio and story from the episode The Tape and overlays a beautiful fan animation that not only humanizes the designs of the characters but also retains the charm and intention of each scene, despite a different style. It's an amazing video that I don't want to show too much of here in case you haven't seen it, and if you do like it, make sure to support the artists and their routes of support. We've reached the surface. You may want to put on your helmet for this one because we're getting closer to the center of this beast. There are things that people would know if they watched a lot of Gumball, but even those who watch casually may be surprised by a thing or two in this section. FusionFall Inclusion. Cartoon Network Universe FusionFall was an MMO game developed by Cartoon Network. Within the game there are nanos, which are described as small miniaturized versions of Cartoon Network characters designed to aid the player through various means. There were 2 nanos that feature the characters of The Amazing World of Gumball released in 2011. The first being the titular character, and the second, later in the year, being of Darwin. Later on, they would release a game called FusionFall Heroes, in which the web page for the game still works despite being shut down as well. One of the major differences between the games is that unlike FusionFall Heroes would only allow players to play with variants of Cartoon Network characters, which included Dexter, Mordecai and Rigby, Forearms and Feedback, Mojo Jojo, Johnny Bravo, and of course, Gumball. Miss Simian and Principal Brown. While not as popular as Gumball and Penny or Darwin and Carrie, ever since season 1 episodes like The Party, there has been a mutual infatuation between Principal Brown and prominent teacher Miss Simian. Going back to that episode, they are the ones who make the party way more intense than it originally was and are almost caught kissing. Most people would say that the relationship is confirmed towards the beginning of the season 3 episode, The Burden, in which Miss Simian wants to borrow Principal Brown for some romance time.
Romance! Now!
Whoa!
Ah!
I think we've heard enough.
There's also hints in episodes such as The Mystery, where Miss Simian is angrily trying to figure out who hurt Principal Brown. And also The Apology, a season 2 episode where, determined to not break up the relationship between them, Gumball and Darwin intentionally get caught so that when Miss Simian turns them in, Principal Brown won't be as skeptical as he was towards the beginning of the episode and not push so hard for an apology. However, the most notable episode would be The Wish, in which, towards the beginning of the episode, Principal Brown would not demonstrate good communication skills to tell Miss Simian how he feels.
It's the perfect evening to say those 3 little words to show how much you care about me.
Oh, 3 little words, hey. Heart breaks off.
It'd lead into everyone erroneously thinking that Miss Simian turned into a neck pillow, which would show Principal Brown's determination to set things right and say how he truly feels about her, which is really all she wanted in the first place. After a long adventure, their relationship would be for the most part solidified, stopping Miss Simian from going as far as leaving Elmore forever. However, some would say that because of Miss Simian flirting with Superintendent Evil in the Inquisition, that their relationship, for the lack of a better pun, was quite rocky. The original season 6 premiere. When season 6 premiered in the United States January 5th, 2018, people were greeted to The Rival, an episode about Anais as a newborn baby, plotting evil acts against Gumball and Darwin out of jealousy. However, the original premiere for season 6 was supposed to be The Future, the 34th episode of season 6. We'd learned from a tweet from the creator Ben that the episode was too heavy production-wise, and it got delayed by a lot.
I feel like painting.
The reason this is notable is because when it comes to the actual plot of The Future, it revolves around Banana Barbara predicting a future that Rob, a character known to know of places beyond Elmore, have such a large interest in getting this information that he would kidnap Banana Barbara. Later on in this episode, when confronted by Gumball, Darwin, and Banana Barbara's son, Banana Joe, he'd state that he's doing all of this for a grander purpose because he feels like something bad is about to happen. But they don't want to hear it in the same way that he'd say in the final episode, The Inquisition. When you look at it from that perspective, you'd notice that there's a lot of parallels between the future events of Elmore, Rob being the messenger, the references to the Void, and also a quick tease towards the end of the episode which would be answered in the final episode.
Warning you.
Barbara, the brush!
No, you don't get it.
You're gonna get it.
Wait, no, please, no.
So in that case, many people, including myself, believe The Future to be a wonderful episode, and it would have set the tone of the season a bit better, teasing what is to come. LaserHeart and The Smooch. The comic is the 30th episode of season 4. Within it, it features Gumball towards the beginning of the episode, scared and confused about why his peers in Elmore Junior High are acting weirdly celebratory around him, chanting something that he wouldn't be able to understand. We'd later learn that Sarah created a rather popular comic that is based on Gumball and Darwin called LaserHeart and The Smooch.
You're a superhero whose special power is your optimistic heart.
You inflict justice and bad dialogue on the villains of Elmore. You're anatomically incorrect, and this is your costume.
There isn't much known about the plot besides the fact that LaserHeart has the power of optimism and is ripped. The Smooch has the ability to kiss people and make them feel better, and Sarah has written herself to be within the comic series having the two fight over her. While within this episode, this canon comic would go to Gumball's head, besides that episode, LaserHeart and the Smooch wouldn't be focused on again.
LaserHeart, do something!
Sarah?
There would be cameo appearances within the Misunderstanding, the Code, and the X, and we'd also learn within the drama that there exists an arcade machine game which focuses on a comic, but that's about it. The Cartoon Network Notebook. Within the 14th episode of Season 6, The Shippening, Sarah would find a very special notebook that dropped while within the Awesome Store, a van responsible for selling things that'd be very notable within the series. One of the most prominent things that came out of it is a magic notebook, which has the golden Cartoon Network logo on it. Within The Shippening, Sarah would use this notebook to manifest anything she wishes to become real. So when she writes fanfiction or draws art within the book, they appear within Elmore.
I guess I've always known we shared deep feelings, but sometimes it's hard to see what's right in front of your eyes. I love you, man.
Debatably, this seems to be one of the most powerful items within Elmore, as people who are affected by anything written within the book do not seem to be self-aware of these changes and would shift their thoughts, feelings, patterns, behaviors, and actions to fit the narrative of that book. We don't know much about the origin of the book besides it coming from the Awesome Store, however we would learn that the book was to be taken by the Elmore police, leaving Sarah to be wanted unknowingly.
And it looks like I didn't stop at women. I agree. I always thought I was the one wearing the pants in this relationship.
The book would remain notable as one of the more prominent objects within the series. It should be noted that as well received as this episode was, there was some flack that the episode got for supposedly using real-life original characters, or OCs, drawn by children. Fat Gumball. To save you a Google search you may not want, I'll be rather brief on this one. There's a certain variant of Gumball being on the bigger side, wearing headphones and looking smugly into what appears to be a webcam with figurines and posters behind him. Known to most as Fat Gumball, this image is used to describe certain people on the internet such as neckbeards, Reddit mods, Discord mods, but not just limited to that, and is commonly seen in places that have the ability to share photos. The source comes from a Season 5 episode called The Line, in which the Wattersons will do whatever it takes to get into the first screening of the latest Stellar Odyssey sequel.
What up, Elmore streamers? It's Dollyboy1923, aka Pixel Donkey. I just got back from seeing Stellar Odyssey: The Force Rehash. No spoilers, but it's so refreshing to see less CGI space battles and more sock puppets. And what a brave decision it was to recast all the main characters as female, including the robots.
Ah! I can't believe it! They ruined the whole franchise!
It is also believed that this is referencing the popular YouTuber Boogie2988, Leslie and Penny. The Flower is the 5th episode of Season 2 of The Amazing World of Gumball. The episode revolves around Gumball getting jealous of Leslie when he starts hanging out with Penny, forming jealousy, a vile, envious being that possesses Gumball to act on his insecurities. As we know, around this time, Penny was still an anthropomorphic antlered peanut, and from the outside looking in, this didn't seem anything more than a friendship. If not, maybe something more, but unlikely.
Nah, they're just friends.
Oh, Leslie, what would I do without you?
That's how it starts! Soon he'll be your boyfriend and you'll be history!
No, it's not like that. He's a nice guy.
No, he's not! And I'm gonna put an end to this right now!
Wow.
However, within this, we would see jealousy within Gumball grow more and more, until Carrie steps in to perform a ritual that not only destroys jealousy for good, making it one of the characters to have died within the show, but right before everything goes down, Penny relays to Gumball that Leslie and Penny are not dating or crushing on each other, but in fact cousins.
Gumball, you have to stop being jealous!
I can't! Not as long as Penny's going out with Leslie!
Ah, Penny! You gotta break up with Leslie! What are you talking about? We're not dating, we're cousins!
The episode wouldn't go much further than that, and any other time they're seen together it's usually cheerleading or background character related. By the way, this would make Patrick Leslie's uncle, Judith Leslie's aunt, and Polly another cousin of his. Principal Brown isn't a principal. The Fraud is the 11th episode of Season 3, which would be the second major episode revolving around Nigel Brown, or as he's commonly referred to, Principal Brown. The episode deals with Principal Brown's anxiety towards Gumball and Darwin's realization that Principal Brown's diploma is fake. Throughout most of this episode, you'd see the contrast of Principal Brown pulling out all the stops to either bribe, manipulate, or overall silence Gumball and Darwin, with Gumball and Darwin not accepting the bribes, often reassuring Principal Brown that they do not care enough to spread this information.
Oh my gosh, you're a fraud!
All right, you got me. But I have one more trick up my sleeve.
Please, please don't tell anyone, please! Have some pity on me, please!
Don't worry, Principal Brown. We wouldn't want anything bad to happen to you.
This would escalate as Principal Brown would not allow himself to truly believe Gumball and Darwin's intent, leading him into doing the rash decision of blowing up the entire school. Through this frantic episode, he'd eventually crack down and admit to the staff that his diploma isn't actually legitimate, to which Miss Simian would admit to faking her age for a job, Mr. Smalls would admit to not being a US citizen, and Coach would admit to lying on her resume, showing many of the staff at Elmore Junior High aren't legitimate either. The Forest of Doom. The Picnic is the 20th episode of Season 1 of The Amazing World of Gumball. It's a wacky but somewhat dark episode in which Gumball and Darwin survive the Forest of Doom, not listening to Miss Simian's instruction. While a minor location within the show, within the Picnic it serves as a great first impression with its sense of danger around every corner, and how it shifted Gumball and Darwin's attitude even towards each other. Within the episode, the duo would be subjected to watching nature be nature, animals eating other animals, the cold unforgiving rain, and finding food in very unconventional places.
We shall find our way using the stars. But the sun is out.
The sun is a star, Darwin. Let's look directly at it.
There are no words to express the pain that I feel right now.
However, as deadly as the Forest of Doom is, this is actually the third episode to feature an on-screen death, the first two being The Third and The End for Anton. The Forest of Doom would come back in the Season 2 episode The Bet when Bobert gets Principal Brown lost there, quote unquote. It also make an appearance in The Voice and The World as far as Season 2 goes. We'd also see it in the notable Season 3 episode The Shell, during the final scenes of that episode, but also The Question, in a scene where the creatures that live in the forest speak about the meaning of life in a very dark way. It also show up in the Season 4 episode The Romantic, as well as the Season 5 episode The List. Jamie is the Coach's daughter. Coach R. Russo, or simply Coach, is a minor character within the series that serves as the gym coach of Elmore Junior High. Within their first appearance of the series, the Season 3 episode The Coach, we'd learn a lot about her. Despite her occupation, she'd never really be seen doing anything athletic. In fact, the episode takes quite a few shots at her cuboid frame. She'd also claimed to win the 1986 Olympics in Elmore, however, we aren't sure if the timeline matches with ours, as there wasn't a 1986 Olympics in our real world timeline.
What possible use could I have for knowing how to do a cartwheel, apart from physically replacing the wheel on the cart?
Maybe the day you want to win gold in the 1986 Olympics.
That's not a cartwheel. That's just a photo of you upside down.
Yeah, well, that still doesn't prove it's useful.
However, one of the more notable parts of the episode was the appearance of Jamie. As many casual fans know, Jamie over the course of the show would receive a slow development, being a minor background character for quite some time up to this point, and only having a few major episodes after this. Her character, while never nice, became more pronounced as the secondary bully archetype behind Tina, and within this episode, we'd see that anytime that Jamie was caught being mean by the coach, she'd apologize, something that no one expected for her to do. This is because Jamie is the daughter of Coach.
How's my beautiful wife and daughter?
Coach is your mom?
Fun fact, we'd also see Jamie's father around the end of the Coach as well. The Internet. Another minor character within this series is the Internet, quite literally. Timmy, as his mother would reveal, would first appear as a regular computer with computer mice for hands in a very immobile way. But within later episodes like The Intelligence, he'd sport a fresh new CGI animated design, being some of the very few characters to be animated in more than one medium. He has 4 major appearances. Within his debut, aptly titled The Internet, after a rather embarrassing video of Gumball gets uploaded to the internet, he goes through many different antics to try and remove it, seeing that he's just going to have to confront the internet directly. We'd learn that the internet's personality is naturally antagonistic and abrasive, as he serves as the antagonist of this episode, distracting Gumball in his attempts to get the video removed. We'd also learn that Timmy can control things such as traffic systems, power lines, and even the criminal database with ease.
Come on, hit screen. Wait, stop! Pinball! Do you realize how dangerous that was? If you don't respect the rules, then how do you expect cars to drive safely?
He'd have a minor appearance in the episode The Love, the 26th episode of season 4, in which he'd ultimately be rejected by the Hexagon Lady within an online date. His last 2 major appearances would happen in season 6, with the first being the 19th episode of that season, The Intelligence, where as the synopsis goes, technology reaches human intelligence then becomes dysfunctional as it picks up human flaws. Within this episode, Elmore turns medieval in the wake of no internet, showing how powerful and vital he is to society.
Take me to the internet. I was the highest bidder on a set of slightly fire-damaged mugs.
No, me. I was right in the middle of trolling a student claymation film when it went down.
No, you must take me. I need to know why doctors hate a single mom who discovered one weird trick.
No, me.
However, not to be overlooked, the spin-offs has the internet's last major appearance, as it starts off with Rob, another character within the show, holding him hostage in an attempt to control what is shown on screen. Despite being a minor character, the internet is always used in a unique and major way. Carrie's visibility. Halloween is the 9th episode of season 2 of The Amazing World of Gumball. The episode revolves around a haunted house party gone wrong when Gumball, Darwin, and Anais attend. However, this can be a bit misleading as Gumball leaves Anais hanging on a tree while himself and Darwin attend the party. Despite this being season 2, Carrie would have already had a major appearance in season 1 that revolved around her ghostly abilities in the aptly titled episode The Ghost. However, within Halloween, upon learning that ghost parties are normally invisible to the human eye, quote unquote, because they're not really humans here, the question would come up as to why Carrie can normally be seen at any time, but other ghosts are not able to which this episode answers that.
What? Well, how come we can see you every day, but we have to take a potion to see them?
Duh! Because I was born a ghost? Come on, let's go meet some people. How does that work?
Duh! I don't know, actually.
She was born a ghost, and while some people may point out that in The Ghost she talks about missing her quote old body, this could be reference to the body that Carrie possessed before, and doesn't exactly have to be a contradiction. Regardless, she states that she belongs to this world, so the other ghosts were not able to send her to the underworld. The Babysitter. The Responsible is the 2nd episode ever within the show, and within that exists a quirky character towards the beginning of the episode. As Nicole and Richard are getting ready for a parent-teacher meeting at Elmore Junior High, Richard would go online to arrange for a babysitter for Anais specifically. However, we would be greeted by a male slime character who would take his job quite literally.
Hi, I'm here to sit on the baby.
What?
Well, duh, I'm the babysitter.
Richard, where did you find that guy?
On the internet?
His name would be revealed to be Albert, and he's had multiple appearances after that, such as in the internet, the finale, and the web. Fun fact about the last appearance, he'd be named Mike rather than Albert and looks slightly different and obviously having a different job. We have reached the upper body of the beast. Here is where most casual fans may start to falter, and also where we start to get into the last common bits and areas of the show. Gumball Comics. The Amazing World of Gumball also had a short comic book series published by Boom Studios that takes place somewhere during or after season 3. There are 8 issues published between June 25th, 2014 and March 4th, 2015, as well as multiple one-shot issues and graphic novels that are still published to this day. Written by Frank Gibson and illustrated by Tyson Heese, the comics cover your general antics between the Watterson family and Elmore. We are aware that there were 2 more issues to be made due to the announcement at Boom Studios' monthly solicitation months, but they were ultimately scrapped for reasons unknown. The Gumball movie tweet. There has been a selection of tweets made within 2016 and 2018 pertaining to the Gumball movie that were quite notable before the official announcements. The first tweets were from a Twitter exchange in September 6, 2016. When asked if Gumball is ending at the current season or if it's getting a 6th, Ben both confirms the 6th season and confirms that he personally wanted to end it at season 6 and not do a 7th. To the question of getting a movie before the show is over, he'd mentioned that he doubts it.
Listen to me, Elmore Junior High. I've had enough of your cartoonish conduct. From here on, any abnormal behavior is to be corrected. Now get to class.
Then within an exchange on March 27th, 2018, Ben would make a tweet saying, "I think I might have a good idea for a Gumball movie. Would you guys watch a Gumball movie?" Getting almost 1,000 retweets and just under 5,000 likes. When asked, are we talking about a direct-to-DVD movie or theatrically based type storyline that can't be contained in an 11-minute episode, he would basically reply that he has an idea for both formats presented. We still don't have too much information on the movie at the time of writing this, but as a hardcore fan, to get a little reassurance probably meant the world to the small chunk that actually looked this stuff up. Darwin's Origin. The Origins is a two-part special composed of the 20th and the 21st episodes of Season 4 of The Amazing World of Gumball. It revolves around trying to deal with the hyperactive 4-year-old Gumball and getting him a pet fish so that his parents can have a little bit of time to sleep and not be bothered.
It's time to wake up. I made you breakfast.
Thank you, honey, but don't you have anything else to do?
Nope.
Go play with Darwin.
I can't. He won't wake up. He looks like this.
Although it ends tragically for many of the fish, it was Richard's frequent trips to the pet store in which no other fish wanted to be adopted. Sad, wondering how he's gonna tell Gumball that he can't have a pet fish, he finds a mysterious van that offers him a fish, that fish being Darwin. Originally, Darwin appeared closer to a fish, appearing to have no legs confined to water, which made spending time with Gumball a bit limited. However, as we'd learned though through this two-part special, that due to their almost unbreakable bond, Darwin would learn how to walk, growing legs, lungs, and everything else needed in order to be with Gumball again after Richard accidentally flushes him down the toilet.
Gumball.
At this point, Darwin would have been 2 years old as well, so him making the trek at such a young age really showed how much they love each other. He would also get his shoes within this episode, the original actor for Gumball. While a lot of people know the voice actors for Gumball Watterson within the main show, Logan Grove, Jacob Hopkins, Nicholas Cantu, and Duke Cutler, within the early reel, there was a different voice actor, Nicky Jones. While he wouldn't go on to be the voice for Gumball within the main series, what is notable about this is that he would be the main character of another Cartoon Network series, Chowder. In fact, you may even recognize him from one of the more notable fourth wall breaks within that show.
No money means no animation.
What are we gonna do?
Rather. No, we are not going home. We've got to save the show.
But where are we gonna get the money to pay for it?
It would have been an interesting stat to be a part of two shows as the main character who breaks the fourth wall often. Gumball on Adult Swim. A popular theory spread across the internet was that The Amazing World of Gumball was originally meant for Adult Swim. For years, across multiple websites, users would claim that the show was originally intended for Adult Swim, and that it was going to be darker due to things such as its nature to fly certain things under the radar, Ben's original idea to have the show revolve around reject cartoon characters attending a remedial school, and possibly the fact that the show has aired within the Adult Swim lineup before. However, the creator of the show, Ben Beauclair, would confirm that he never pitched to Adult Swim, so this remains a common misconception for now. Larry and his jobs. Lawrence Needlemeyer, or simply Larry, is a supporting character within The Amazing World of Gumball. He's generally known for occupying numerous jobs within the city of Elmore and is confirmed to have well over 30 jobs, such as being the cashier of Laser Video, as shown within the DVD, Elmore Gas Station, as shown in the Knights, the Spoon, but also the Bumpkin, Food and Stuff, as shown in the Laziest, but later on in the Name, Joyful Burger, as shown in the Menu, but also the Money, a shoe store, as shown within the Prank, Ripley 2000, as shown in the Refund, Pervidia's Pizza, as shown within the Job, but also the Game, Elmore Shopping, as seen in the Christmas episode, the Bank of Elmore, as shown in the Check, and the Heist, the Elmore Zoo, as seen in the Stars, and a pet store, as shown within the Origins, just to name a few of the more notable ones.
Unfortunately, we cannot take your call right now because I can't take it anymore. I have only one thing left to say to you, Elmore. Try our family deals for $5.99. Goodbye, Elmore. I quit.
There was even an episode within Season 3 called The Pizza, where Larry quits all of his jobs, leaving Elmore to dive into chaos rather quickly, showing the city's reliance on him working pretty much non-stop. Although throughout the episode the Wattersons would have to deal with an even more ruthless apocalyptic Elmore, they would end up giving Larry some appreciation in the end, a theme that the Wattersons struggle with, despite his contributions to society. The Rainbow Factory. The Rainbow Factory is a minor location within the Amazing World of Gumball series. Despite this, the factory serves as a rather significant landmark that houses a few important parts of the lore. Firstly, Gumball's mother, Nicole Watterson, works there, and she has been seen calling her family from work to check up on them in episodes such as The DVD, The Flakers, and The Return.
Yes? Honey, are you in trouble? Because my mother senses are tingling. I can smell trouble.
Trouble? No, we're fine. Absolutely fine. No trouble here. Bye.
Are you lying?
Oh, no, of course not.
Right, you're lying. I'm coming home now.
Secondly, another known employee is Mr. Yoshida, a humanoid cloud who is the husband of Yuki and the father of Masami, the former who would go on to reignite a childhood rivalry with Nicole in the Fury, using the office as a backdrop to her antics, and the latter being a very spoiled rich girl whose status within school is cemented at the top, implying that the Rainbow Factory actually does very well. Third, while this is not a job that Larry worked at, his fiancée Karen has worked at the Rainbow Factory, being another minor character that has worked a lot of jobs at Elmore. Fourthly, it was seen under construction in the Origins Part 2, which indicates that it's actually quite young in the grand scheme of all of the characters.
We want to see the Rainbow Factory!
It'll be the best day ever! First we'll watch the happy little elves whistling their merry tunes as they dig for color in the rainbow mines.
Then we'll see all the colors be mixed in the palette by dancing unicorns!
Then we'll hear the singing of the orange munchkins as they churn it with their magic machines! And then we pause for a couple of hours for lunch. And then...
You only get an hour for lunch.
Oh.
Then we have to share between 50 people.
Lastly, the first major appearance of the Rainbow Factory would come in the aptly titled The Factory, in which after sneaking in their mother's briefcase to head to the factory on Take Your Child to Work Day, Nicole would try to have a business meeting with the shareholders to convince them not to shut down the factory, while Gumball and Darwin would do their best to give them every reason why it should be, including a very poisonous gas that nearly takes them all. When does Gumball take place? A popular piece of speculation to speak about is the exact timeline of when the Amazing World of Gumball takes place. The show never commits to a time period, nor does there seem to be evidence of the creators confirming things, and it has a lot of clues to different answers within various communities that may speak about it. Some may point to the box TVs, VHS tapes, early-ish computer designs as a sign of the times. However, we have seen recent technology within the show, such as a smartphone within the slide, a more modern-looking TV within the helmet, as well as complex AI within the upgrade. Some may point out the social networks that mirror Facebook and YouTube as well, but also DVD rental stores, which may show that rather than being in the 90s or present day, it may be somewhere in the 2000s. People have made large theories about it, and we may never know. The show does a good job at blending large pieces of technology and clues together to not really be indicative of any time period definitively, so it is a safe bet to assume whatever timeline it is has a different set of history that led it to be there, given what we have now. Creating life. The show has never shied away from the topic of the creation of life, with it happening multiple times within the series across different characters. One of the most notable characters involved in this is Anton, a reoccurring character who attends Elmore Junior High and is a piece of toast. He's been eaten alive, crushed, and even has an episode, The Recipe, that features him dying in a lot of different ways, only to come back to life through a toaster in Anton's house. The experiment with the creation of life, failing multiple times, as it appears that an under or overcooked piece of bread results in a very different Anton, with the former being very naive, even loopy, and the latter being the main antagonist of the episode. Granted, they did throw him out, which may have contributed to some of that as well. There's also the microwave, in which after Gumball creates a concoction of multiple substances and places it within the microwave, creates a sentient being that they would lose control over. It would be capable of thought, reason, sense of worth, sense of hierarchy, and growth, showing that common kitchen items can be the source of life quite easily.
What's going on?
Although these are far from the only times, they are the most significant, showing that life in the Amazing World of Gumball is easier to make than it may appear. Nicole and Her Parents. The Parents is the 16th episode of Season 6 of The Amazing World of Gumball. It revolves around the attempts made by Nicole and her parents to mend their tense relationship. We'd learned that this relationship was not built off of solid communication, with Nicole citing their ridiculous expectations, putting unnecessary pressure on her, such as naming her doctor, assigning her the wrong blood type, putting her in conflicting after-school activities and giving her a suit at birth, but most importantly, never approving of her relationship with Richard, instead having a replacement that tries still to this day to Nicole's annoyance. Nicole's parents would retort with saying that Nicole has always had anger issues, which gave them trouble too, as well as misreading their wedding invitation, which explains why it may have appeared that they didn't support Richard as much as it may have seemed.
Oh, that was after...
I don't remember.
Me neither.
Then why are you still angry at each other? Why can't you just make peace?
The core of this episode, however, is that they reach a point where they don't remember the initial incident that started all of this. Given that I did speak about this episode in a video, I should say that I'm very much biased against this episode, feeling that if we did get a scene in which Nicole was born and already had high expectations on her, them not realizing when it started is a complete joke, as this is literally the start of someone's life. Ultimately, she'd end up taking them back and work on mending things for the betterment of everyone involved. Ocho's relatives. Ocho Toot Morsel is a recurring character within the amazing world of Gumball, who attends Elmore Junior High. Gumball and Ocho have a very shaky relationship, going back to the season 2 episode The Phone, where he alongside Darwin would fight Ocho over a misunderstanding. However, within that episode, we'd see Ocho's mother, Mrs. Toot Morsel, a wider version of him with more eyes.
Ocho, what are you doing? You're not fighting again, I hope.
The more notable relative, however, is Ocho's uncle Mario, who we would hear more of in the season 5 episode, The Uncle. Gumball would want to meet this man who looks an awfully lot like Mario, but actually isn't Mario for obvious and legal reasons. Throughout this episode, Ocho would take Gumball on a journey, testing his trust by doing things such as taking care of fights for Ocho, reacting to embarrassing secrets a certain way, and even being traumatized as to decide whether to take his own life or make Ocho take his in a kidnapping prank.
Fine, you've made your choice. You make your decision. It's him or you. You're running out of time. Choose now.
Huh?
Good choice. A true friend always puts the other before himself.
Also funny prank, right?
However, the biggest sacrifice would be to Darwin, with Ocho asking Gumball to denounce Darwin, a weird way to go after the events of The Phone, where he would initially do it but realize all of this is too far to meet Mario. However, the episode would end with Gumball getting back into the same events when Ocho hints at his more famous uncle, the blue hedgehog who can run really fast, Elmore Stream It, and Elmore Plus. The Amazing World of Gumball has referenced several websites within the series, however two important ones that come up often are Elmore Stream It and Elmore Plus. Elmore Stream It seems to be a website that is a video sharing platform. It could be seen in episodes like The Gi, a season 1 episode where Gumball and Darwin's fascination with Taekwondo isn't received well. There's also the ending to The Secret, another season 1 episode where a video entitled Hip Flop features an embarrassing video of Gumball dancing and breaking everything in the process.
Check this out.
Another notable one is in the popular episode The Copycats, a season 5 episode in which a family copying the actions of the Wattersons would be seen posting videos of it on Elmore Stream It. You would also see it in episodes such as The Intelligence, The Boombox, The Code, The Mess, and also quite notably, The Uploads, an episode that would revolve around the website heavily. Elmore Plus, despite its name being similar to Google Plus, would feel a lot closer to the social media platform Facebook, and notable episodes that featured this website would include The Romantic, an episode in which Gumball would misread a message from Penny, leading to a lot of different antics, The Colossus, in which after using another fictional software, Shadowfop, a parody of Adobe Photoshop, Gumball and Darwin would post an image of themselves more muscular than usual, and The Web, where in the opening scenes, Gumball and Darwin are posting edited versions of their friends' selfies on Elmore Plus.
Oh, wait, no, Sussy looks kind of better there.
Both websites seem to be rather popular for Gumball and his peers, but it also seems to be commonly used throughout Elmore. Bobert and His kind. Bobert is a supporting character within the show, a high-tech robot that is known for being rather literal, very smart, and capable of transforming into a bigger version of itself for combat purposes. For a lot of the first 3 seasons, we don't get much of Bobert beyond comedy. There's also his first major role within season 1 in the episode The Robot, where in wanting to become a real boy, quote unquote, he completely steals Gumball's life, which while very dark, wasn't new for the season when you consider The Ghost came out before The Robot and had a similar premise of Gumball being taken advantage of because he's real and alive.
What the? I can't believe this report card. What's happened to you, Gumball?
You're like the same, but better.
You're the best son a family could wish for.
We love you, Gumball.
There's also the bet in season 2, which just follows Gumball taking advantage of Bobert, but this really wouldn't get anywhere. It wouldn't be until the 12th episode of season 4, The Upgrade, where we would get a little bit more context of where Bobert came from. Within this episode, we are shown an advertisement for Bobert's operating system, essentially an upgraded version of Bobert, whose full name is Bobert 6B. The main objective of the Bobert system is to, quote, allow users to enjoy a truly singular experience, giving access to a whole new range of functionality. We'd show that the old Bobert model at the time isn't supported with the upgraded version, which has things such as a mild 3-dimensional effect, on-screen display, photo filters, a health application, an MP3 player, a faulty virtual assistant, a counterproductive and overcomplicated update of maps, and Debris Smasher, an application on the online Bobert store used to destroy incoming projectiles for defense.
Activating defense application. Would you like to rate Debris Smasher on the Bobert store?
I'd write something like 5 stars. This is a must-have for every Bobert user, well-designed with an intuitive interface. But I don't have the time!
It showed that Bobert's kind isn't exactly created in a toaster, but manufactured regardless. And while Gumball and Darwin would make the decision to keep the old Bobert model, it shows that there are more beings like Bobert that simply aren't purchased publicly by anyone that we know. I'm sure we've been in this ocean for quite some time, and we've already reached about halfway. Everything before this, casual fans most likely knew and could speak about at length for most of these topics. Everything below this point would be things that I personally think are more obscure, dark, or just not talked about as much compared to their more popular counterparts. I can guarantee you won't know everything going down this list, and if you don't believe me, then find out yourself. Sluzzletag. The Lie is the 26th episode of season 3 of The Amazing World of Gumball, where in an attempt to combat the lull of January, given all of the holidays have passed, Gumball and Anais invent a new holiday, a fictional one that catches on, called Sluzzletag. The name itself has no meaning, and it's shown within the episode that it could have been anything such as Fun Day, Dependence Day, Wigtide, Dank Party, Snitzel Time, and Google Bash. It should be also noted that the traditions for Sluzzletag were also created on the spot, with Gumball again mainly using this as a reason to pass time and to give presents that were discarded gifts that people didn't want for Christmas.
Happy Sluzzletag, Miss Simian!
What does that mean?
It means we get the day off school and we get presents from Sluzzle Dude.
That sounds like complete magaloni.
What's that?
It's baloney times 1,000.
There is a centerpiece for Sluzzletag, Sluzzle Dude, mirroring Santa Claus in a sense that he delivers presents in people's homes and is a bearded man. However, trade the sleigh, cookies, and milk for a van, barbed wire, and skeletons. The traditional music of Sluzzletag consists of grindcore, an extreme fusion genre of heavy metal and hardcore punk that originated in the mid-1980s, drawing inspiration from abrasive sounding musical styles, but also grindcore versions of Christmas tunes. The traditional food of Sluzzletag, contributed by Richard, seems to be delicacies such as the Sluzzlewurst, made up of cheese, bacon, processed meats, and other junk foods jammed into a sausage.
By the power of cheese! By the power of bacon! By the power of processed meats! By the power of carbs and deep fat frying! I give you the Sluzzlewurst!
There is also a stop-motion special, The Night Before Sluzzletag, that didn't have enough time to be animated, so there's only a few seconds made for it. Richard was a blue dog. There exists a blog ran by Sylvie and Mark, better known under the username Polymynth, who published an article on Sunday, June 17th, 2012 titled The Amazing World of Gumball Development. of which there are early designs of Gumball, including one where he almost became a black cat. We'd also see some early designs of Miss Simian, which aren't completely far off from her completed design. There'd also be a purple version of Principal Brown, which would be captioned as an original drawing. There's also a very early version of one of the office workers titled Paperball. There's also some designs that didn't make it into the show. However, the most notable design is Richard, who we know now as a pink bunny, with his daughter Anais following suit, with Gumball following a closer design to his mother. However, Richard was thought of to be a blue dog at some point, with a slender frame, plaid clothing, and even glasses. This is a very different design than what he'd become, and this major shift ending up cementing how Richard is viewed and written for in the show. Imagine some of the most iconic moments involving Richard with this design. It would either fall flat or be viewed differently. The show references real OCs. The Shippening is the 14th episode of season 6 of the show. A popular episode of the show, and an episode that I reviewed a while back. One thing it is known for is its use of alternate designs of Gumball and Darwin, named Zachariah Lopez Kirby and Bexy, short for Alexandra, one pair that was based on a real OC based on the main duo. This received a lot of positive feedback, but also some criticisms, with people conflating this to mean that the creator and staff are making fun of the people who make these OCs, given that Gumball and Darwin's weirded reaction to them may appear that way. But I will now play my response to that in my original review of the Shippening. Now, as a creator of videos, I have also been on the end of people generally taking something I did and morphing my intentions into being malicious, like how some people think I was homophobic because of my L is for Love review when that isn't the case at all, or that because I state that the wiki calls Trip, a character in King of the Hill, specifically my Pygmalion review, a schizophrenic, and I personally think he's a psychopath, that I am linking them together, when that also isn't the case. I do applaud Ben for handling the situation well, because it is clear as day that if anything, he is making fun of the ridiculousness of the characters on his own show. The concept of the OP was not to make fun of people making really crazy and out there characters, but to show that people really do take the concept of Gumball and shift it into various places, making the show much weirder, unique, and wackier than he could ever. The fact that he plays the entire concept of a main character meeting an altered version of themselves straight, having Gumball and Darwin be essentially weirded out by the two, is actually less insulting than you would think. Ask yourself, how else would these characters view what is pretty much an out there version of themselves? It would obviously be this way. In fact, if anything, having those OPs in here is more of a homage to people using Gumball as an inspiration to start drawing, as clearly with a similar design it doesn't look like the worst thing in the world when you put it through effects. Prior J, how did you make it this far mispronouncing simple phrases like OC? Overall, The Shippening is a fantastic episode, and knowing that it used real OCs just makes it better. Fun fact, the show would also reference some OCs within the episode The Catfish. Evil Turtle. There exists a turtle titled Evil Turtle that is a minor character within the series. Likely an African softshell, she first appears in the 5th episode of season 3, The Puppy, where after asking for a puppy, Richard gets them a turtle, and this turtle wreaks havoc on the Watterson family, as well as Elmore. This turtle would be known for being aggressive, irritable, and nearly dying in the sunlight, which according to the wiki is, quote, based on Ben's pet turtle as a child who died since it was left in the sun and exposed to high temperature. It is later revealed that said turtle was pregnant, and in a season 4 episode titled The Nest, her offspring would attack the citizens of Elmore. She'd also make some minor appearances within The Name, a season 3 episode where Gumball, then called Zach, would force Darwin to live with her in her home, or The Burden, another season 3 episode, in which she tries to bite Chris Morris, another pet within the show. It should be also noted that this turtle came from the mysterious Awesome store, the same place that Darwin came from, which reappears in the episode The Puppy. Which, speaking of, the Awesome Store. You may have already heard this reference in the surface when I spoke about the Cartoon Network notebook, but also the upper body when I spoke about Darwin's origin, and even right before this within the lower body when speaking about the Evil Turtle. While these are more notable products that come out of the store, the Awesome Store isn't as talked about from fans or the show compared to the products that came from it. It's located inside of the Elmore Mall parking lot and does appear to be just a van. It does appear to not have a consistent interior of the few times that we have seen it, being different in the puppy, the origins, the shipping, and as shown on the screen here.
Ugh, this is some creepy doll, Chief.
We are friends. Everything is fine.
What's mine is yours, and what's yours is mine.
What was that, Frank?
Nothing, Chief.
In fact, within the shipping, we see the van holds even more items, such as a doctor's license, an umbrella that can summon rain and thunderstorms, a doll that is capable of possessing people with the spirit of a young child, a magic lamp which predictably turns a wish back on the person who made it, and many more miscellaneous items, which apparently takes up 5 floors according to the shipping. Richard would buy a Game Child based on a Nintendo Game Boy from the Awesome Store within the Season 5 episode, The Console.
Everything we have is a knockoff. Our TV is a soppy. Only 2 letters different, but that never stopped you from watching it. Your superhero, Batman. He's a knockoff too, but you love his morally dubious adventures. Even our doctor only has a doctorate in fine art, but he did a great job on my appendix scar.
However, there would be one more thing that I'd like to bring up that was bought from the Awesome Store of note, at least so far, which would be in The Possession, a Season 6 episode, where Nicole and Granny JoJo would get a new fridge from there. However, the Awesome Store holds more and more secrets that we'll get to when the time is right. Miracle C.O.R.R. Miracle C.O.R.R. is a Chinese animated series that was a vehicle to promote a brand of goat milk, also called Miracle C.O.R.R., led by an anthropomorphic goat named Kiki and his talking pet frog, Guagua. It gained attention for taking a lot of elements from the Amazing World of Gumball from its premise, animation, designs, and even directly ripping some scenes point for point. It even gained attention from the creator, who in a now privated series of tweets acknowledged the similarities between the two, and would later be involved in an episode, The Copycats, an episode I reviewed recently poking fun at the entire situation.
Just live your life as dangerously as possible and hope they off themselves trying to copy you.
Oh! How delightfully malicious.
The moment's past now.
Beyond the fact that the show is referred to as a ripoff of The Amazing World of Gumball, it's also known for having terrible animation, a terrible blend of the different art styles, a terrible theme song, terrible voice acting, and in my unintentional verses of the show against Gumball, a terrible story. Some people would also call out the show for stealing from other sources as well as using copyrighted logos, presumably without permission. It reportedly ran for 12 episodes from 2014 to 2015, however it's hard to get too much information on this, as it's pretty clear that all parties involved have moved on and there isn't much love for the project to begin with. Richard's 2 fathers. Louis Carter is a reoccurring character within the Amazing World of Gumball. He's known for being a part of the senior citizens and also went through a slight design change as his role within the show changed. Starting within The Man, the 24th episode of Season 3, Granny JoJo, Richard's mother, would bring her new boyfriend to see her family, to which Richard would not approve, obviously not wanting his mother to find someone else while his actual father is still out there, getting milk, after 42 years. This would come to a height in the episode The Signature, where we would see the debut of Frankie, Richard's biological father, where we would find out that Frankie lives a rough life.
Sir, are you in line?
No. Actually, I think I've been out of line my whole life.
Although we'd learn in episodes like The Outsider and The Father that Frankie was actually arrested and didn't want Richard to follow in his footsteps, at this point, Richard was both happy and upset to see his father, but ultimately is stopping him from taking the house as, at the time, when tracking him down, learned that he was the most powerful person within the Watterson family, on paper. Louis Carter would go on to become Louis Watterson, marrying Granny JoJo and gaining approval of the Wattersons.
Stamp these!
Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Watterson.
Dad? Wait, Dad! I want you to sign this.
Oh, you got a restraining order, huh?
No, adoption papers. I want my dad back.
While not spoken about as much as Gumball and Penny or Darwin and Carrie, it is still a significant relationship within the show. Daisy the Donkey. Daisy the Donkey is a reoccurring fictional character within the show. Being a pink and yellow plush, she seems to be very popular, especially within the Watterson home. She's generally seen with Anais, who within the early seasons has been very obsessed with her. It's also a toss-up when it comes to Daisy the Donkey's sentience. Within the night, she's shown to be alive, dreaming of swapping roles with Anais. Within the world, she's seen talking, which freaks Anais out.
You're my best friend, Daisy. You're my best friend too, Anais. What the?
Surprisingly, Daisy the Donkey has been in numerous episodes, whether mentioned, cameo, or even a major role. The Quest is the 7th episode of The Amazing World of Gumball, and it revolves around Tina finding Anais's Daisy the Donkey doll and keeping it to herself after a series of antics with the other children within Miss Simian's class. At night, Gumball and Darwin go through a lot to somehow trap Tina and take the doll, but Anais ends up letting Tina keep it because, as Tina would say, she never had a toy before, and Daisy helps her sleep when it gets scary at night. Although not a major appearance, but a funny one, there exist small moments in another season 1 episode, The Car, where Anais is completely focused on going to see a Daisy the Donkey ice show, called Daisy on Ice, where she's completely blackmailing Nicole with their own words of, quote, being a horrible mother if she doesn't take Anais to the ice show.
It's Daisy the Donkey on Ice Day. You promised to take me, and we're late.
Oh, honey, I'm sorry. Mommy worked really late last night.
What sort of a horrible mother wouldn't take her daughter to her favorite show?
Oh, Anais, I know what I said, but...
Horrible mother? Horrible mother?
Okay.
Within the season 2 episode, The Remote, Daisy the Donkey would play a subtle but crucial role in Anais eventually beating her own family and getting control of the TV, showing that her obsession with Daisy the Donkey, combined with her superior intellect, would make for a very hard competitor for the TV when the time is right. Although not a major appearance, within the egg when both Felicity and Nicole's children, Billy and Anais respectively, quote, ran away, their fear of a romance between the two is squashed when Anais says that she cannot associate with Billy as he's a Fireman Pete fan and she's a Daisy the Donkey fan. Within The Detective, the 36th episode of season 4, it revolves around Daisy going missing and Anais becoming a detective, tracing clues until she finds the culprit. A fun episode, it shows a lot of the panic Gumball and Darwin had, knowing how much Anais cares about Daisy the Donkey.
It's not gonna work. We need another way to get rid of her. What are you doing?
I say we run.
We've already gone too far.
No, we haven't. We're still here.
It was a metaphor. If we run, we're goners, Darwin.
But who's to say the police will take us down?
Sorry, that one wasn't a metaphor. I literally can't run. I'd croak 30 meters from the house. We need to deal with this here and now. Darwin.
I'm sorry.
No, wait!
With a show, a theme park, a video game, and an ice show, Daisy the Donkey is quite popular within the Gumball universe. The source of the world's color. The Faith is the 11th episode of season 6 of The Amazing World of Gumball. While Gumball, Darwin, and Richard are watching TV, color drains from it, with Anais being grayed out and eventually the rest of the family in Elmore. This leads to Gumball and Darwin wanting to figure out what's going on. After seeing that the town can't operate without color, descending into chaos, they would eventually find out the source of this issue. Alan, whose sadness creates a range of which, if close enough, someone will begin uncontrollably crying, feeling the pressure of sadness overwhelm them. When approached by the duo, Alan explains that he's losing faith in humanity because of their unwillingness to change, pointing out Gumball as an example with his disdain towards Alan, which is heavily documented throughout the show.
What have you lost, Alan?
My faith in the world.
So that's why you stopped all your voluntary work. But why? You were doing great.
No matter how much I try, the world will never be perfect.
Well, you gotta get back on the horse.
Oh, why bother?
Because we need people like you to do all that work, so that people like me don't have to.
After singing a song to reignite his love for everything, Alan would come back to his senses, with the world's color returning, suggesting that Alan's optimism is responsible for more than it once appeared. Like with Larry, it seems that Alan is very much responsible for how Elmore operates, and without him, the world will not only get significantly more gray, but also unkempt. Are apps sentient? One of the smaller theories about the show is that if literally all objects are sentient, then why not apps? In a show where you can create physical life, why not digital? You have characters like the internet, yes, but the difference between them and apps is that the app itself would be contained within its own bounds, like a smartphone. Within episodes like The Extras and The World, it is blatantly shown that everything from bacteria to common household items to entire planets and stars have the ability to speak, feel, and react to things like any other person within Elmore. However, usually when we see apps and websites, they are usually contained in their AI, despite seeing people like Bobert, whose AI deems him to be just as sentient as anyone else within Elmore. It is a fiercely debated topic, and it depends on if you believe that sentience in Elmore extends to digital life, despite not a lot of evidence to support that, or that the zeros and ones are just that, and could never reach true AI on their own. Tina and Mr. Rex were once models. One theory goes as, quote, Tina and her father were once models. That is, they started out as models of dinosaurs on display in Elmore's museum. Just like everything else in Elmore, the dinosaur models came to life and became sentient, and were cast out of society after the resulting rampage. Although the theory doesn't have too much weight beyond speculation, there isn't too much to debunk it either besides the lack of evidence. Again, like in The World and The Extras, items can simply come to life after long periods of doing absolutely nothing. If there was a model within the Elmore Museum based on these 2 episodes alone and all the other episodes I mentioned in the section of creating life, it would indicate that Tina very well could have been created in the museum.
Mr. Rex. Hi, Mr. Rex. We need to talk about your daughter. So it's going to be like that, is it? Well, that's fine by me.
I personally doubt it, as there are either greater implications on how life started in Elmore, given that there's also a lot of other families that can have a similar upbringing, or at least there should be more things that came alive within the museum that we simply haven't seen, or at the very least, been confirmed. The Watterson Family Star. The Treasure is the 10th episode within season 2 of the show. The synopsis reads, Anais uncovers a secret that she is sure will lead her on an adventure to the Wattersons' hidden family treasure. The episode has Nicole partially explain why their family doesn't usually have authentic DVDs or the good groceries or any of the other finer things in life, saying that they're rather poor. Messing around in the attic, Anais would find a key along with bank statements showing a $24,000 payment to C.O.R.R.U.P.T, which they'd be curious about, seeing that nothing within this home would match that value. Gumball would have fuzzy memories about it, being hypnotized by Darwin into remembering that their mother, Nicole, told Gumball to keep this key a secret.
I'm with Mom. She's locking a suitcase. You must never tell anyone you saw this. It's the key!
As the title suggests, all of this leads into a star, to which I'll read the origin off the wiki. 12 years ago, sometime after Gumball was born, Richard was surfing the internet. An advertisement for an out-of-space investment opportunity for the future of his kids appeared on the computer screen, and he accepted the offer on impulse. However, the page had not fully loaded when he clicked yes, and the rest of the page stated that the investment would be for the children 9 generations down the Watterson bloodline, his children's great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren's children. Richard desperately tried to get the money back, but C.O.R.R.U.P.T Corporation had gone bankrupt, taking the Watterson savings with it. Ashamed of his blunder, he did all in his power to hide everything pertaining to the purchase, bank statements, receipts, and a certificate for what he bought.
It was the beginning of the internet. Click now for an out-of-this-world property investment for the future of your kids. Yes! I clicked too quick. I should have waited for the page to finish loading. Property investment for the future of your kids. Great grandchildren's children. I tried to get the money back, but the company had already gone bust.
Unfortunately, at the end of the treasure, the star did fizzle out, giving undeniable proof that Richard got scammed. The puppets and Tyler the Creator. There exists an interview with Ben Beauclair via the Peg Bar and Grill podcast, in which he speaks about many topics from the creation of Gumball, the rules and procedures he's followed, his career before that, and towards the end, when asked about if any notable people watched the show, here was his response.
And bizarrely, rap stars.
No way, like who?
Like Tyler the Creator.
Oh really? He's into Gumball?
He's obsessed.
Oh my god, that's
Has he mentioned
awesome.
it in any
yeah, he mentions it in interviews and stuff.
Oh, have you met him?
Big voice. Huh?
Have you met him?
No, I've never met him.
Mate, you should get him in a show.
I really want to, man. Like, I'm writing an episode for him. But he's made it really hard, though.
Oh, okay.
He got himself banned from England.
Oh, why?
Don't know. For to be honest, I think it's gonna get lifted. Like for lyrics he wrote on Goblin back in the days.
Oh, really?
This was also recorded around the time of which Ben Beauclair was working on what would go on to be the 40th and final episode of Season 5, The Puppets, in which, while talking about his collaboration with Blink Industries, he floated around the idea of having Tyler the Creator involved in the project as well.
Wow.
But also, I really want that episode to be done by Becky and Joe.
Oh yeah,
man, that'd be incredible.
So sick.
Yeah.
Have you talked to him yet?
Yeah, we've been talking for a while, but like they're really busy with Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared right now. But
and would you get them to do the whole episode?
No, like a section again. Yeah,
oh,
like a guest, like kind of DJing.
Oh man,
yeah, I
that
think
would
it'd
be
be
cool. Oh mate, I'm getting a bit excited now.
With Tyler,
yeah,
right? Becky and Joe and Tyler.
That's an amazing position to be in, to be just kind of like picking.
Yeah, I mean, you'd still have to pay him. But
yeah. No, but amazing.
But in a way, it's good because like it's also like takes the weight from that part of production for us. It actually makes economical sense. Like it works.
In an alternate universe, Tyler the Creator would have been a part of the Puppets and not just participate in the regular show episode Wrap It Up as Blitz Comment. Anti-government attack attempt. Quattro and Feliciana Pepperoni are minor characters within the Amazing World of Gumball that received a small but interesting amount of development throughout the series. Although their first appearance is one that we'll get to later, it would be one of their later appearances that would distinguish them from the rest of the minor families within Elmore. Within the 23rd episode of Season 6, The Understanding, their child, Peter, would enroll in Elmore Junior High after seemingly exclusively being homeschooled by Quattro and Feliciana. Throughout the episode, we'd see that Peter does not speak an understandable form of English that anyone that isn't in his family seems to understand.
So, Peter, what do you want to do first?
Well, wherever I'm cool. Lunch over in the canteen there at the locker, the hunger sandwich, and maybe some ketchup.
When looking at the transcript and the words that he's saying, there's definitely a clear stream of logic of what he intends to communicate, but overall nothing would have prepared Gumball and Darwin for what they'd go through in the latter half of this episode. Seeing the entire family tear gas the city hall, stealing file cabinets of various government documents, their true intentions would show that they hate the government for not allowing homeschooling anymore and telling them what to do. While we'd see unrest in Elmore often, very rarely does the town pinpoint it on the government, which makes this such an interesting case.
What is going on here?
Oh, I thought Peter explained all this to you.
Yeah, he might have.
Well, we know you boys share our views. Peter's always saying how you agree with him on practically everything.
About what?
About the government.
Government?
Ah, the government! Don't get me started on the government with their endless forms and their red tape!
They destroy the physical copies of multiple documents, leading into the family nearly getting arrested until Peter says something along the lines of liberty, freedom in America, to which the police let them go, not without telling them that all the files that they destroyed were on the internet. The Cage. The Cage is a Season 6 episode of The Amazing World of Gumball. The episode revolves around a teacher from Elmore Junior High named Mr. Corneal. He'd make his first appearance within the show in the Season 4 episode The Others, where Claire, the quote main character of that episode, says goodbye to him. We'd learn in this episode that the school is running on hard times, and unless something changes, the school may not be a school for much long. Fortunately, Mr. Corneal begrudgingly agrees to step into an MMMA match, the acronym short for Meaty Men Misunderstanding Martial Arts. but only because it woos the school's nurse, Joanne or Miss Markham.
Oh, Mr. Cornet, who would have thought you'd be so... Oh, that arm feels a lot more withered than I thought it was gonna be.
Well, when you're fighting in the cage, the most important muscle is the heart, and right now, you're giving mine a workout.
This also involves him lying about being a meaty men misunderstanding martial arts fighter, covering up his black eye with a false story about a fight. Throughout the episode, Gumball and Darwin worry that Mr. Cornel hasn't been taking the match seriously, especially when you realize his opponent for the match, Joao the Grave Digger. Mr. Cornel would rather relax and not use his energy for training, claiming that Joao using up all that energy is to his disadvantage. With a deceptive punch to the wall, Gumball and Darwin finally put their trust in him. Right before the match, he finally gets the approval of Miss Markham via a kiss, which makes him admit to Gumball and Darwin that he lied about everything. He does receive the consequences of his actions though, as the episode doesn't pull any punches. Literally. It isn't as notable as the other relationships within the show, especially happening so late, but Principal Brown and Miss Simian aren't the only faculty to exchange romantic interests within the show. If you've noticed the water getting darker, that is because we've reached the base of the iceberg. We've definitely left the obvious and are now getting into the niche pockets of the series, the community, and any facts around it. We're also leaving the innocent, scratching more of the surface of those darker aspects of Elmore and the people that inhabit it. Gumball's perception of school. Overglossed in my review within the 4th episode of Season 4, The Others, it was revealed to Gumball that Anais is actually a grade ahead of him, despite being younger, which opens his mind to seeing a different selection of people from Elmore Junior High. Although initially waved off as a comedic and arrogant take on Gumball's perception, when you consider that there exist episodes where characters are straight up removed for being ultimately flawed, there's a darker line of logic that exists with this sentiment that Gumball physically didn't see other classes or know that they existed until he needed to interact with them.
Open your mind. Open your mind.
Yes! And believe it or not, some of them have even more interesting lives than you.
Some may reach outwards towards the out-of-universe fact that The Others is a parody of the 1994 TV show My So-Called Life. However, that doesn't exactly negate that Gumball's behavior within The Others is not exclusive towards the parody. Him needing to be the center of the universe, while normal for a kid his age, when combined with the unstable nature of Elmore and the people who exist within it, it would be hard to deny that Gumball doesn't hold some power in the priority of people who exist within Elmore. Given that this would be Season 4, it'd also be crazy to imagine all of the memories within the school if Gumball was aware of said upper class.
What's going on? Only the biggest happy ending of your life! What? You don't need to leave Elmore! We fixed everything for you!
It's also kind of eerie to think that Anais telling Claire to go along with everything that Gumball was doing, and Jared, her love interest, telling her to smile through all of the chaos he's enacted on the school up to that point, made it even weirder that neither party knew of each other until the universe deemed it necessary. The Mayor of Elmore. The Mayor of Elmore is a minor character within the Amazing World of Gumball who appears as a humanoid character with his head and body disproportionately being larger than his arms and legs. He'd also appear similar to most caricatures found in political cartoons and comics, however he'd be known to resemble specifically the 45th President of the United States. Although mentioned in the Season 5 episodes, The Choice and The Heist, his first true appearance would be within The Nuisance, an episode where, quote, the Wattersons fear the worst when they are summoned to a town hall meeting but are surprised when they're offered a new house until they discover that it's in a different state.
Everyone wanted you gone because you were, well, being you. Whereas I wanted you out because you were bringing the price of the neighborhood down. That was a problem, you see, when I decided to sell the land to developers. But look at you now! You've become our new poster family.
According to the wiki, he'd also appear in the Season 6 episode The Neighbor, where, quote, the mayor eavesdrops on Gumball, Darwin, and Gary and uses the plan Gumball and Darwin make up despite it being specifically designed to be cruel and ruthless, showing that he is dishonest and highlighting his monetary and uncaring motives. Gary being Gary Hedges, by the way. Gumball DVDs. It is hard to deny that The Amazing World of Gumball is one of the most popular and critically acclaimed shows that Cartoon Network premiered in the previous decade. Despite the award-winning, schedule-dependent, popular nature of the show, the home media collection is underwhelming. While it may appear that there's a lot of home media released for Gumball, do note that there's only one complete first season available, and that is within Region 4, which is most of Latin America, the Caribbean, and Oceania, meaning that there is not a single DVD that sells any of the seasons in whole to be played within the United States. That isn't to say that other DVDs are effectively worthless, as I do have possession of some, including the re-released DVD titled The Amazing World of Gumball and Friends, which is essentially the first official release of the DVD, not to be confused with the episode called the DVD. It features select episodes from Season 1, as well as a special feature to Meet the Wattersons, which is essentially a bio section. There's a ton of discussions to have between physical and digital media, the reliance on streaming, the specific sales of these DVDs, and the demand that fans like us actually have. But all I know is, I would love just a box set to just have and support the show. And until then, these fractured seasonal DVD things are the best that we have when it comes to officially licensed physical media. Second, Hot Dog Guy. Hot Dog Guy is a recurring character within The Amazing World of Gumball. He's an anthropomorphic hot dog that wears dark glasses. He's also a student within Elmore Junior High who made his debut in a Season 3 episode, The Extras. But most people will know him from his cringeworthy dynamic with Gumball in episodes like The Hug, The Awkwardness, and The Cringe.
You go. I'll just hang out and watch. No, I meant wait! I'll hang out and wait! Hold on. What am I doing? This is my chance! What the hell?
You like my new shoes? I thought I'd mix it up a little.
However, there's another character within The Amazing World of Gumball who looks exactly like Hot Dog Guy. Porky Cassidy is another character within the Gumball universe, who is also an anthropomorphic hot dog with dark sunglasses. He's known for working at Joyful Burger as well as his major appearance in the episode The Castle, in which, quote, to make a point, he takes off his buns, acting as though this move is a shocking one, going against social norms despite the buns only covering his back. He acknowledges that this is not very logical, but seems to be happy anyway. There are certain episodes that it is impossible to tell which is which. Usually you would use context clues, such as if Hot Dog Person was at school or work, which would help in certain circumstances. Also, fun fact, this isn't counting the Hot Dog Guy lookalike who appears in The Awkwardness as Gumball runs into him and thinks that he is the legitimate school Hot Dog Guy.
You thought I was the hot dog guy, right? Yeah, I get that a lot.
Also, fun fact, he'd also think that he's Darwin within a disaster. Also, fun fact, this isn't counting Earl, another anthropomorphic hot dog who works in the police force aside Donut Cop, Hamburger Cop, Coffee Cop, Soda Cop, and French fries. There aren't that many repeats within the universe that aren't flat out clones, see Anton, but here it's super interesting to see that there are 4 characters that often get mistaken for each other within their world. McDonald's UK promotion, a staple of the 2000s where the commercial tie-in toys that you would get within fast food restaurants, most notably McDonald's. Now, while Happy Meal toys are still a thing years later, their popularity would compete against a wide variety of major brand and independent toy-making companies, as well as digital apps, and the eruption of kid-friendly social media. However, if you were in certain parts of the world, such as the United Kingdom, you may have come across Happy Meal toys specifically for The Amazing World of Gumball. According to scattered videos I can find across the internet, there seems to be a Gumball, Darwin, Carrie, Juke, Banana Joe, Rocky, Penny, Bobert, Tobias, and Anais toy that you can get within your first Happy Meal. This is quite logical given that The Amazing World of Gumball was first to be produced in Cartoon Network Studios Europe and has a UK influence within the show. Oddly enough, the Penny toy looks closer to her younger sister, Polly Fitzgerald. How to Ratatouille Your Panda. As spoken about when the Watterson family star was mentioned within the last section of The Iceberg, there's also another notable reference within the treasure. Towards the beginning of that episode, the Watterson children bring up to Nicole that they believe their family lives in poverty. Nicole refuses to address the concern, which leads to her children bringing up more examples of how they don't usually get nicer things, but the cheap bootleg version of normal things.
And that DVD is not even the real film. It's some mockbuster from the bargain bin.
What's wrong with How to Ratatouille Your Panda?
You're winning, Panda. Use a secret weapon.
Okay, you asked for it.
One of those things was a DVD, which is a mockbuster called How to Ratatouille Your Panda, which is a play on a few DreamWorks and Pixar movies, particularly taking a jab at the well-known mockbuster studio Video Brinquedo, being a mixture of the movies How to Train Your Dragon, Ratatouille, and Kung Fu Panda, of which the former two are DreamWorks movies, and the latter two were converted into a mockbuster, Ratatouille and a Little Panda Fighter, the latter of which I did cover on this channel. Given that there exists an episode dedicated to calling out a bootleg version of the show itself, this is nothing new or surprising for the show to reference, but is less known between the two. Captain Punch. Captain Punch is a comic within the Amazing World of Gumball universe. It was written and designed by Bartolome Minori and shows up within 3 episodes. Its debut within the Colossus, the 2nd episode of Season 2, shows Hector having a copy of it, of which his mother heavily edited to make kid-friendly.
No matter how much it rains, this city always smells lovely. What's this? Looks like 3 ski enthusiasts have just withdrawn their hard-earned wages from the bank. Better get down there, safely. Not so fast, gentlemen.
What a pleasant surprise. It's Captain Punch.
You can see it within a sequence of the show in which drawings are superimposed on top of the comic, basically on top of anything that can be interpreted as distressing. However, you can also see it within The Procrastinators, the 19th episode of Season 3, where right before Gumball would become incredibly interested with the laser pointer, he'd be seen reading said comic. There's also The Countdown, where you can see it within the pile of books here. Fun fact, the original comic is also available to see, and side by side on the screen, you can see that not only was a lot of time put into the comic to make it look great, but the edits are quite clever. Carball. Within the shippening referenced in the surface of the iceberg when speaking about the CN notebook, but also in the lower body when speaking about real OCs and the Awesome Store, Darwin would have a specific quote.
What the? Dude, this is all messed up!
I know, right? I mean, future me wearing sandals?
I mean, you're gonna steal Carrie from me! It's supposed to be Carwin, not Carball! You home-wrecking woman-eater!
Carball in this instance refers to the ship between Carrie and Gumball, a ship that isn't supported within the show, but in certain sections of the community. While it is true that Carrie and Gumball share quite a few episodes together, even ones that don't heavily feature Darwin, Gumball not only had a crush on Penny within those same seasons, but never made it appear as if Carrie had an interest in Gumball aside from his body within the ghosts. However, to see the show referencing it means that there is quite the minority that prefers this duo over Carwin. I am not in that minority. Reach for the Stars chart. The Fridge is the 4th episode of Season 2 within the Amazing World of Gumball. It revolves around the efforts of Nicole trying to convert Gumball into a high achiever and a winner, because of his willingness to accept not contributing to anything and thus being on the bottom of the Reach for the Stars chart. The way the chart system seems to work is that Nicole is the sole decider of where all of the family goes, including herself, anything from a star, sun, sunny cloud, gray cloud, and rainy cloud, all based on their individual accomplishments throughout the week. Supposedly, it was to motivate the rest of the family to be just as high up as Nicole, when it did pretty much the opposite.
I got a science award for discovering a new form of bacteria in the fridge. Sir! Ma'am! Mom!
Oh, that's very good, Anais. That puts you on the sunny cloud, just below the star, where I am for beating everyone at the company paintball day.
Although we wouldn't see much of this chart beforehand, it does go hand in hand with Nicole's want for her family to be shown in the best light possible, both publicly and behind closed doors. Now, while Richard, Gumball, and Darwin are generally okay with giving the bare minimum, their mileage may vary, Anais was upset in this episode, winning a very prestigious science award to only get the sunny cloud, as Nicole is the sole decider. Gumball would stand up to Nicole, taking part in a paintball match, only under the condition that if he wins, the Reach for the Stars chart gets taken down.
Just take the flag, my little trooper. You've earned it.
Thanks, Mom.
Did you just try and shoot me in the back?
No?
Although it would be a worrying struggle, he'd eventually win and get the chart taken down. However, Nicole's high standards would be untouched. Gary Hedges. The Neighbor is the 9th episode of season 6 within the series and possibly the biggest episode for reoccurring character Gary Hedges. He would be seen numerous times within all of the seasons and have other major appearances such as The Extras, The Love, and The Nest. However, where The Neighbor gets a distinction away from the former 3 is that we get to learn more about Gary Hedges.
Hey, Gumball! Darwin!
Hello, sir?
Come on now. I've known you for years. You don't need to call me sir. You can call me by name.
Yes, we can. And we will definitely do that. Next time.
With Gumball and Darwin avoiding him due to not knowing his name, as we'd be able to tell from what the mayor seems to have done, see the Mayor of Elmore earlier up, 2 Russian agents drive up to Gumball and Darwin, not only telling the duo his name, but also wanting to see Gary Hedges. Gary's real name is Harry Gedges, of which when told what his name is, goes into hiding when Darwin informs him of the agents. According to the wiki, Gary explains the name Gary Hedges was a pseudonym given to him by the Witness Protection Program after he testified in court against some bad people 20 years ago. The only reason he was able to get away from them this time was due to a dummy with Gary's likeness being thrown out the window of his home into a power line and ran over by many vehicles.
Ha! It worked! Throwing that dummy out of the window was a great idea. Now I get to keep my life in my beautiful home.
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to fall out of the window. It was meant to look like you were in the house when it...
While this may appear to have bonded the 3, Gumball's actual plan involved blowing up Gary's house, to which they've been distant ever since. Fingerprint Criminal Student. Sal Leftham is a reoccurring character within the amazing world of Gumball. He's well known for his appearance within The Spoon, an episode of season 1, where he served as the main antagonist robbing the store with the rusty bent spoon that Gumball and Darwin spent most of the episode completely oblivious to. He has a cartoonish look, bandana, literal lines for arms, and possesses the ability to escape being caught by disguising himself as a fingerprint on the ground.
Can I help you?
Yeah, can it and hand over the cash.
What?
Don't make me use this.
Oh my gosh, he's got a spoon! He's got a spoon!
If you've seen him around, you've known him to be largely a criminal and a wanted one at that. But did you know this wasn't always the case? If you look back at early production art for the show, you'll see that there was a fingerprint guy that looks very similar to the one that we come to know. He appears shorter with a less cartoony, more detailed approach. His face gives a very numb, somewhat of a derpy kind of look. Amongst the various other changes that happened between characters, this is the most significant one, given that his character would not only have been in Miss Simian's class at the time and not anymore, but would age up and have a completely different role within the show. It does make me think about what adventures we would have had if we had a fingerprint guy in Miss Simian's class. He also appeared in the title screen of the game Schoolhouse Rush, right underneath Darwin's arm in his prototype form. It may be a bit hard to see given that the images of this game are now in low supply. Richwood High. The Sweaters is the 36th episode of season 2 of The Amazing World of Gumball. It revolves around a duo challenging Gumball and Darwin's supposed reputation, and is also the very first episode I reviewed on this channel. We'd learn that this duo, Carlton and Troy, did not come from Elmore Junior High, but another school that is in Elmore called Richwood High. Not much is known about the school except that it appears to be attended by humans, although we would come to learn in the Sweaters that Sarah was also a former student there.
So you think you're hardcore, huh?
So are you talking to us?
What do you think?
I don't know, man. There's people everywhere here.
Are you getting fresh with me, Dipstick?
What? What does that mean? Look, who are you guys?
That's Carlton and Troy. They're from my old school.
And we're here to see how hardcore you really are.
Back off, Carlton! You don't know who you're messing with.
Gumball and Darwin would be challenged in a game of tennis here when Carlton and Troy assume that Gumball and Darwin's dangerous reputation is grounds for a challenge. As said before, a lot of the art style of Gumball involves taking real-life imagery and combining it with illustrated assets. Richwood High appears to be drawn all the way through, from the tennis court, sky, and everything in between. We don't know much about the students attending it except that the setting would return prominently twice. First, in the season 3 episode The Extras, where we would learn more about the student audience. They have a cardboard-like getup where they can't really move beyond the pose that they are in, and it makes doing simple tasks such as eating or giving food a struggle.
Dude, are you alright?
The other prominent time was in the season 6 episode The Spin-Offs, during a segment called Techno-Powered Teenage Warriors, where despite having a title spoofing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the segment is actually a parody of Power Rangers, using both toy commercials and a group of young heroes attacking a monster as two comedic jabs at the popular franchise. Gumball and Pibby's Connection. Learning with Pibby is a short web video published to Adult Swim's YouTube channel, at least at the time. It revolved around the titular character of the fictional show, Learning with Pibby, being chased by a void-like, glitchy sense of doom that would rip her out of her show and thus break the fourth wall, meeting other characters, some made for the show, and others coming from different Warner Bros. And Cartoon Network franchises such as The Flintstones, Scooby-Doo, Looney Tunes, and even recent shows like Adventure Time. The video was a complete success by a lot of metrics, even getting onto the trending page with a lot of people in support of Learning with Pibby becoming a show.
Pibby, I'm scared. Don't worry, Bun Bun. I'll always keep you safe.
Although it has become less and less likely for anything to come from Pibby after the whole HBO Max Discovery Inc. merger, it was discussed heavily if Gumball and Pibby's continuations were connected. Both the Inquisition and Learning with Pibby dealt with the void, dealt with breaking the fourth wall, and dealt with the main character who deemed to be destined to stop it before it takes over the show, or shows in Pibby's case. As enjoyable as the idea is, I think this is more of a situation of just two similar premises happening around a similar time frame rather than a potential collaboration between the two. For example, Fairly OddParents has done a void-like sense of doom within Wishology, and I wouldn't say that that's connected to the same void that Gumball is in. Chris Morris. The Burden is a season 3 episode that featured the one-time appearance of the school pet of Elmore Junior High, Chris Morris. Within that episode, Principal Brown gives the responsibility of taking care of the school pet to Gumball and Darwin, who protests the idea, but is interrupted by both school being over and Miss Simian wanting some romance time with Principal Brown. Chris Morris appears to be both very old and hanging on only by a thread, which Gumball and Darwin both acknowledge. He appears to speak through white subtitles on a black background. Unbeknownst to the duo, Chris Morris appears to be indistinguishable between the hamster that we know him to be and a clump of Principal Brown's hair. Oddly enough, the school pet bears a striking resemblance to Hector's pet Barney, but anywho, a large part of this episode is spending time with this clump of hair, not even knowing that it isn't sentient, with some oddly disturbing imagery of Gumball and Darwin bringing up the clump of Principal Brown's fur, not only to just their lips, but with hair visible between their teeth. The fun time ends when it appears that various things in the home are attacking and killing Chris Morris.
We need to give him mouth to mouth! Use this macaroni! You have some Chris Morris on your face.
Little do they know, Chris Morris has been trying to escape the cage for a long time, with Gumball and Darwin having a change of heart towards the latter half of the episode and helping to release the school pet under the nose of Principal Brown, Miss Simian, and Donut Cop. Outside of an appearance within Darwin's yearbook, our last appearance of Chris Morris would be him slowly walking into the sun, so slow that Gumball and Darwin would leave before he gets to where he was going. Alternate themes. There exist 2 confirmed alternate theme songs for The Amazing World of Gumball. The first serves as a Japanese promo where we would see original animation combined with the animation from various early episodes of the show. It gives a very generous showing of the show with a theme that ties the unrelated clips together, being Gumball running away from everyone. There exists implied puppet animation of the singer alongside Gumball and Darwin dancing. It's a very cheery sounding song, and although the clips didn't have too much to do with each other, it is a nice canon fact to know. There also exists an opening theme for the Indian version of the show that starts with Rocky introducing the show to the audience and the song sang in Hindi. It has more of a yearbook aesthetic, with different clips being used to accentuate the misadventures to come. Here are the lyrics. Can't believe I'm reading this, but no tensions or fears, cause Gumball is here. With this strange, colorful world, he's stupid, he's naughty, sometimes a superstar, and a hottie. Sometimes he plays tricks on others, but at times the tables turn on him. He often gets in trouble because of his boasts. And do I hear a doorbell? Ding dong ding! This is the colorful and wonderful world of Gumball! What are these lyrics? It was a journey, but we have officially made it to below the iceberg. Light will only become more and more sparse, and the topics will be things that I guarantee most casual Gumball fans either don't know or haven't seen in a particular light. And even hardcore fans may struggle knowing some of these. Richard's Twitter account. Although never confirmed, there exists a Twitter account that was used as if it came from Richard Watterson. I am Richard W. joined Twitter in March 2011. His location is Elmore. His link leads to the official The Amazing World of Gumball YouTube page, and his bio reads, I love Nicole, Gumball, Darwin, NAE, sausages, video games, and the internet. Both Ben Buckley and Guillaume Casuto, two prominent people involved in the show, follow this account, and it has not been active since March 25th, 2012. The account appeared to tweet several times per month, all in character for Richard, and going through the media shared, there appears to be an image I've never seen on Gumball before of Richard taking a poor selfie, or a great selfie if it was for his stomach. All of this leads me to believe that this is either a really well-ran fan account of its time, or this is a now inactive official Richard Watterson's Twitter. It's really fascinating to go through these tweets and hear them with Richard's voice. I wonder what Twitter would have been if the Watterson family or even the major characters within Elmore had a social media account. Original concept for The Amazing World of Gumball. Although we know Gumball as a sitcom starring a bunny and cat family with an adopted fish, it has been confirmed that the show's concept was originally supposed to be about rejected cartoon characters attending a remedial school. According to Ben himself, I pitched a show about a remedial school for hapless, rejected cartoon characters set up in the real world. Daniel Leonard, who was in charge of the development studio, wasn't convinced. He thought that the concept was too sad and that it wasn't very cool to make jokes about remedial schools. I have to admit that in retrospect, he was quite right. It felt like a mild cartoon version of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and the concept naturally lent itself to pessimistic and mean-spirited stories. But he liked the look of it and encouraged me to pitch a different show with a similar design approach. In an alternate world, we would know The Amazing World of Gumball is probably an even meaner show than it already is now. The Crew and the Skulls cut scenes. The Crew is the third episode of season 4, dealing with Gumball and Darwin's interest in joining the senior citizens crew. Misconstruing sending a message to mean sending a hit, Gumball and Darwin no longer wish to be in the crew after a series of wacky antics leading into the end of the episode. To some who watch it now, they will not find the ending of the episode to be odd. However, for those either outside of the United States or the lucky bunch who have found it through other means, the end of the crew is intended for Donut Cop to tase Marvin in a comedic misunderstanding. This is not shown in a digital version of the episode, but there exists a recorded copy on YouTube.
We just wanted them to send a text message.
Similarly, there exists a scene within The Skull, a season 2 episode that has been cut as well. That episode revolves around Clayton, a living ball of clay who happens to be a compulsive liar. During one of their attempts to make Clayton an honest clay involved the shock collar, which was cut in the US airing of the show. This scene is rather comedic, with it basically devolving into Gumball and Darwin using the shock collar on each other. The scene also suggests that Gumball, while loopy from the medication he had to take when getting his appendix removed, might have kissed Sussy.
Just do it.
You set mild electric shock, that was like lightning!
It is important to note, however, that Clayton fakes being shocked, which led into Gumball and Darwin proclaiming at the end of the scene that they do not wish to be friends with Clayton anymore.
You should think twice about this. I know some people who can make life very difficult for you. My girlfriend's brothers are in the FBI and
Just get out.
Early reel. The early reel of The Amazing World of Gumball revolves around Gumball and Darwin taking a very convoluted route to escape school.
Right. Ready? Ready. Ready for what? Never mind.
There's a lot of changes here, and this is by no means a complete list. Gumball's design is incredibly different, having more of a rectangular head, a lighter shade of blue, and a different outfit, as well as a different voice actor, which was covered in the upper body. Darwin's design is CGI rather than the 2D design that we know today, almost resembling Nemo from Finding Nemo. Tina looks pretty similar, if not lower quality, given that this is more of an animation test rather than a polished final product for television. Alan's face looks a lot more boyish, and is also seen in a romantic light with Masami, which makes the storm connected somehow. Terry was a boy, which is implied when he was blown into the girls' bathroom and they screamed. Leslie has different colored petals as well as no eyebrows within this version. Some characters remain largely the same, like Ocho, Clayton, Juke, Bobert, Anton, Rocky, and possibly some others, although the quality makes it a little hard to tell. There's characters that we'd never see beyond this point, such as this character with a box over its head, named Fragile within the wiki, and this bluish purple guy seen towards the beginning. thing. Miss Simian also has a radically different design, and obviously Elmore Junior High looks a lot smaller. As unpolished as it is, the idea was already here, and it serves as the seed for one of the most well-received Cartoon Network shows in history. Super Nintendo and Gumball. It is a bittersweet perspective to think that fan-made merch can be some of the best merch that a show has to offer. On one hand, a fan of a show would know how to market said show, but on the other hand, the companies that own the show have the resources to develop a lot of these items in a larger and better quantity. One of those items is a mini-comic titled The Tasks, created by John Chad. The cover shows Gumball and Darwin sporting a childlike, imaginative, fantasy-esque costume with what appears to be a sentient log with a crown behind them. As it reads on the back, which is signed by John Chad, quotes, "This cartridge will not work in any SNES, Retro Duo, or Wacky Tech multiplayer system. This game can only be played by someone with a healthy imagination. This is because the comic is within the cartridge, as it's not an actual game but just a packaging of the mini-comic." Sussy's actor. Sussy is a reoccurring character within the amazing world of Gumball. She's very odd, weird both in personality, in-universe, and the way that this character works behind the scenes. Categorized as a chinnikin, Sussy's appearance is made up of googly eyes, a plaid dress, shoes, and the chin of Aurelie Charbonnier, girlfriend of the creator of the show, Ben Buckley. While Fergus Craig provided the unique voice for Sussy, it was Ben's voice that provided the laughter, wailing, and screaming that Sussy is known to do as well. The show has cleverly shown this during The Night, a season 4 episode where she'd have an on-screen appearance showing a sneak peek as to how the character works.
Sussy turned into a monster!
Can somebody go check on her? Is she okay?
Outside of this, she's a storyboarder who worked on several key episodes, such as The Shell, The Origins, The Console, The Shippening, among a wide variety of other great episodes. Gumball fosters Land of Ooh Chowder connection. Cartoon theories are both amazing and predictable. The allure of two shows existing within the same universe has driven hype towards the cartoon community for decades. The small pickings of crossovers we have that are canon are overall fondly remembered in the eyes of many casual fans. However, the theories that come from shows aren't always intricate or even creative. Between the everyone is dead and we're seeing the afterlife or dream theory that exists within shows like Rugrats and Ed and Eddy, or the haunted episode that was shown on a random day on the network like half of the cartoon creepypasta websites, I have never been that much of a theory person. One of the theories here revolves around the fact that Elmore, the Land of Ooh from Adventure Time, Marzipan City from Chowder, and the wild world of Foster's home for imaginary friends are all connected. I guess this is because all of these places featured a varied amount of beings and species all living together, and each of these environments have branded themselves as being wacky, chaotic, and a place full of imagination. Like with the Pibby theory, I see this more as people meshing similar ideas and believing that there has to be a connection. For one thing, Elmore does not appear to have a culture of imaginary friends. The Void, as cool as it is the closest Elmore has been to war, outside of possibly the apocalyptic scenes in The Pizza or Nicole's Destiny and the Choices, had she actually went to the martial arts tournament, unlike the Land of Ooh, which is connected to war. Also, Chowder, while full of wacky characters, arguably was not branded as a wacky world where we would see different beings every day in the way that Gumball and Foster's were, at least. I am aware that Panini and Anais look very similar, but outside of that, this is more of a lazy pipe dream than any theory that holds water. Chanax Inc. Chanax International Inc. is an office building within Elmore that has appeared a few times within the show. Within season 1, we have the DVD, where Gumball and Darwin, in an attempt to pay for the late fee for a DVD they've rented, become makeup test subjects, with Gumball taking a large amount of facial abuse within these scenes. Within the painting, in an attempt to make things right with Anais over a misunderstood drawing, Richard attempts to get a job at Chanax Inc. Oddly, similarly to the job, it seems like the universe has it out for him in not being able to get a job.
Good afternoon, Mr. Watterson. This is your contract. Please sign here, here, and here. And here's your pink slip.
What does that mean?
It means you're 7 hours and 59 minutes late. And you're fired.
The mustache would have a similar outcome, but with the supposed older Gumball and Darwin. However, the first major appearance would be in the season 3 episode, The Boss, where Gumball and Darwin attempt to get Rocky a job, which incidentally, all of the internet results lead to working at Chanax Inc. After wacky antics ensue, we learn that Mr. Chanax is a lot more corrupt than the company already appeared. There's also The Founder, a season 6 episode, which the synopsis reads as so. Richard creates chaos in the Chanax building when he is mistaken for the long-lost CEO. Nicole, and an already disgruntled employee, must save everyone from Richard's dangerous ideas.
What are you doing here?
I have absolutely no idea.
This is precisely why I tell you to stay in the car.
Wait a minute, you're not the founder of Chanax?
No, but you guys seem so convinced I figured I must be in the wrong.
What makes this place different from the Rainbow Factory is that it is canon that the employees within Chanax sign away their soul, hopes, and dreams to work there, with the occupation lasting most of their life, if not their entire life completely. The company actively seeks out young, fresh, and gullible employees, with the initiation process being that said employees exhale into a jar as a possession of the employee spirit, although this was disputed by Chanax and Gumball. Richard Haight. Within sitcoms or animation, you are not hard-pressed to find a dumb dad archetype. The Simpsons, one of the longest-running animated shows, was built using this archetype and taking it to its limits. The archetype in a vacuum is harmless, but with the added frequency of this character type in animated shows has led to backlash against the archetype in general. Richard Watterson was no stranger to this hate, especially on sites such as Twitter and Tumblr. There existed posts ranking the worst cartoon dads, with Richard being up there in the list.
See? Look, something's not right. Dad's gone weird too.
No, I haven't. That was a diversion to make you two stop fighting. Worked.
Now, while I do think the dumb dad trope runs rampant in media, looking at Richard's accomplishments within a vacuum, he does appear to be larger than his archetype. So while there is criticism to be made within episodes such as The Hero, The Refund, The Laziest, The Job, The Lady, The Master, The Choices, and many others, Richard has carved out a pretty good distinct personality and execution of the bumbling dad trope. Mr. and Mrs. Robin's arguments. In a long line of theories, there exists a fan theory that the episode Karate Choppers from SpongeBob SquarePants is a metaphor for doing the do. Now, while I doubt the crew had this in mind, what this theory has above the others is that it is consistent throughout the entire episode, to the point where you can see the connections to washing the dishes and karate, with one being able to swap out one for the other, and there aren't that many head scratchers about it.
Maybe just one more. Or two.
Or 3.
Or 10.
10! Yes, 10, because we're really hungry. Right.
If SpongeBob and Sandy were sponging the Bob to the point where they could not function, yes, Mr. Krabs would fire them, as it is unproductive and not a money-making venture. The Poltergeist is an episode of season 1 of The Amazing World of Gumball, which features a similar line of thinking. As Gaylord Robinson is camped up in the Watterson's attic after a spat with the missus, he begins to explain how his arguments were instrumental in their relationship.
Margaret and I used to argue like that. Sometimes up to 6 times a day. From first thing in the morning until last thing at night. In the backyard, in the car. Occasionally we'd do it in public.
But what happened?
I don't know. Something changed. And one day she said the spark had gone. And asked me to leave.
Again, I don't think the writers of The Amazing World of Gumball are trying to funnel in erotic metaphors, but compared to the Pibby and Connected Universe theories, again, this one at least is comparable to the episode and can be swapped out, still making sense with the episode. The Helmet. The Helmet is the 35th episode of season 1 of The Amazing World of Gumball. The synopsis is quite simple. Gumball, Richard, and Nicole have become obsessed with the lucky helmet, which has to be destroyed. This episode was always quite interesting to me because while not the darkest episode of the series, it had some dark adjacent moments. For one, the episode starts with Gumball being bored with how perfect his life is with the helmet, getting to the point where he contemplates throwing it away. But when Nicole and Richard get in on the luck, all three of them become not just obsessed, but flat out frantic to keep just a crumb of what that hat has to offer.
Oh, am I kidding? I'm nothing without my helmet. I want it back.
I made it.
There exists a scene within this where Anais takes a stand against the family, saying that she'll destroy the hat so that their family can function again, and Gumball has a complete meltdown. Of all the times I've seen Gumball frantic, this one has always appeared to be a bit too much, like dancing on the line of being cartoonishly funny and actually worrying, which for the purpose of this episode was intended. Normally the family would be fearful of Nicole, and even Nicole is shown to have a worried look on her face as Richard tries to detain Gumball.
Can I have one more go?
No!
Don't touch it!
Hey!
No! It's mine! No! It's my helmet! Give it back!
Dude, chill out! It's just a bucket with some tin foil on it!
Give it back! It's my helmet!
There's also the moment at the end where it appeared that Gumball, in an attempt to capture the hat, would fall into the compactor, and you've never heard a more blood-curdling scream from Anais since. The helmet is a very fun episode, but it is one of the few episodes where you could see some darker tendencies than normal. Gumball in the UK. Happy Meals have always worked with popular animated media since it was shown that it was profitable to do so. As we discussed before, Gumball does exist within Happy Meals at a certain time within the United Kingdom. Oddly, within Cartoonito, UK, there exists a weird commercial that has Gumball wearing a varsity jacket. He appears to have a new friend, which is related to the Happy Meal itself. There's also Tobias and Penny being incredibly friendly, which isn't consistent with how they view each other, with the knight being a shining example of that, and the commercial just has this micro storyline where Gumball gets a new friend, Darwin gets a new friend, and they make up and have fun together.
What a friendly bunch! Everyone wants some delicious fruit.
It oddly doesn't really make sense outside of being recognizable characters to sell toys to, including Gumball in this Happy Meal uncharacteristic outfit. Beyond being a weird branch of lore around the show, it doesn't appear that this is anything more than unconnected in the grand scheme of the show. William is a reoccurring character, being a student in Miss Simian's class at Elmore Junior High. Although it was planned for William to be the school snitch, his character was never fleshed out to be that. We have two major episodes involving William, and I would like to focus on the former, a season 2 episode titled The Voice. Gumball and Darwin decide to block everyone on Elmore Plus, believing to be above everyone else and their lives, leading into William believing his well-meaning attempts at friendship were snubbed.
Hey guys, I just wanted to say that you seem really cool and, well, I think we should hang out. What do you say?
Wow! That was awkward. Okay, so, we're gonna go now, but you should stay here. Okay, bye!
The episode, for a large portion, happens from both the point of view and thoughts of William, who has a dark, sinister voice and a very introspective yet spiteful outlook on Elmore, but more specifically, Gumball and Darwin. He possesses the ability to manipulate objects around him, and it never really appears that anyone has acknowledged this until now. He's able to rip the floor from beneath him, open lockers, and destroy everything in a close enough radius. Towards the end of this episode, where it is shown that Gumball and Darwin have forgot about him, it only fuels his anger towards the duo even more. Unbeknownst to William, no one can hear him though. All of the times he has approached Gumball and Darwin, his side of the dialogue was never heard, which leads into Gumball and Darwin not understanding why William is so aggressive towards them. Even towards the end, William has a change of heart when he realizes that this entire time it could be possible that no one can hear him because he doesn't have a mouth.
Oh gosh, no one can hear me, can they? I suppose it makes sense, I don't have a mouth. I thought you'd ignored me on purpose all my life. And when you blocked me on Elmore Plus, something snapped. What was I thinking? I'm so sorry. You must be terrified and confused. I cannot apologize enough.
Gumball Caption Gallery. For a short period of time on the Cartoon Network website, one was able to caption curated GIFs of the amazing world of Gumball. Other users were able to view and comment on said captions. The description for this section of the website was, "It's the Gumball Caption Gallery. Gumball, Darwin, Dad, Anais, Banana Joe, and all of your favorite Gumball characters are all in repeat animated GIFs. Watch these funny GIFs and add your own hilarious comments. The Amazing World of Gumball is only on Cartoon Network." It seems to have a lot of moments, some slowed down, some sped up, with different aspect ratios and all. I'd guess that this was in that time period of Cartoon Network amongst a lot of other websites where they were still trying to harness the growing popularity of the internet, but didn't fully transition over into being a storefront for their app. Corrupt. The Check is the 6th episode of season 4 of The Amazing World of Gumball. Within this episode, we have Grandpa Louie, formerly just Louie, decide to give his new grandchildren a gift, a check for seemingly $5,000. Now, while the punchline is that Louie forgot the decimal spot and that it it was $50, what is more interesting is the scenario that Darwin envisioned thinking about what to do with the $5,000. Planning to start a charity to help make the world a better place, his business acumen leads to a very ominous business. Corrupt, or the coalition of really useful people together, is the business that was born out of Darwin's good-natured ambition to help the world.
First order of business, expanding the charity so we can help as many people as possible. So, how much money have we raised?
Well, the TV campaign raised over $3 million.
Hooray!
So, after paying for the offices, the media budget, and the salaries for our advisors, we're left with $12.30 to spend on actual charitable needs. Oh, sorry, $5.29. Jeff Bontonans.
Surrounded by people such as the Goblin CEO of Chanax Inc., a company I just talked about in this section, the Dolphin, Spray Bottle, and Butter Knife, which are known bad guys, and even the cupcake person, Martha, that was seen in the DVD. Fun fact, Martha also works at Chanax Inc. The company's board would explain that despite raising millions of dollars, after using all of that to sustain their building and their deep pockets, they barely have anything left to actually use on charity. Exploiting Darwin's naivety, they suggested him to sign off on toxic waste management, and the moment he does, it is no longer the streets of Elmore that he, and the viewers such as ourselves, know and love. It is now a barren toxic waste site, and right at the end, he gets attacked by very disturbing looking versions of the students of Elmore. Although this entire moment was contained within a fantasy and thus not real, quote unquote, the memory itself is one of the more unsettling scenes within the show. These next three sections are where we get away from the light, popular, cheery, and lean closer to the dark, obscure, and the limits of what the lore and the community have to offer. In-character Anais Flickr account. There exists a website on the popular image-sharing platform Flickr where numerous photos taken by Anais exist and were shared and updated until December of 2011. Going through the images, we have a fly eating what is implied to be a smaller piece of the larger sandwich titled The Circle of Sandwich. We have an image of Sal left dumb in what appears to be a successful robbery underneath the non-existent nose of Donut Cop, who's eating a donut titled Just Doing His Job. There's an image of Hector running across a giant field with 3 different colored and shaped quadrilaterals titled Hector Playing Hopscotch. We also have Bobert taking in unleaded gasoline titled Bobert Having a Liquid Lunch. Next up is a son not too happy about the exhaust from a plane obstructing his full view titled The Son Has Got His Stash On. There's also an image of Larry unfortunately trying to propose to Karen and having an eagle swoop down for the ring titled An Eagle Gets the Better of Lazy Larry. Here's another with Mr. Smalls meditating titled The Calm Before the Storm. We have another candid photograph of Leslie using the water fountain in a way that a sentient plant may, alongside Carmen to the left and Ocho to the right, titled Leslie Tops Up at the Fountain. There's an image of probably Anton lying on a napkin with presumably butter and a boombox that may be sentient titled Sunburnt Toast. This image is a bit unsettling. We have an image of Rocky using cleaning supplies to clean a splatter-like character off the wall titled Sprayed Today, Gone Tomorrow. What makes this image in particular unsettling is that not only was this a character that existed at a point in time, but we haven't seen this character since, and with a caption like that, they truly were gone tomorrow. We have an image of the Robinsons arguing with 4 images of them arguing in different locations, apparently the Eiffel Tower, the London Tower, and the Great Sphinx of Giza, titled A Classic Moment with the Robinsons. There's also what appears to be a donut character, Principal Brown with the giant comb, Alan or a relative with the gas tank, Terry with the crayon, and Miss Simian who appears to be holding bananas in a protective manner, standing in a line titled We Sell Everything. There's also a potentially sentient mailbox in rough shape, coughing up mail titled Too Much Junk Mail. We have an image of Carrie at a shop seeing if a shirt will look great on her, with the joke being that ghosts cannot see their reflection, titled Carrie at the Emo Shop. Mind you, Carrie, according to a few episodes, such as The Matchmaker, should not show up in photographs. There's also a photo of the senior citizens from left to right, Donald, Marvin, Betty, and Louie, the lattermost no longer a part of the senior citizens after his marriage with Richard's mother, Granny Jojo, titled Same Old, Same Old. There's also what appears to be an image of Gumball getting hit with a basketball with Miss Simian laughing, unaware of the trajectory of the ball, the side of Juke's head, and Tobias's hand, titled Perfect Timing. Underneath the catalog of Family Life, we see another candid image of Richard on the toilet, with the door cracked open, titled Dad Has a Heavy Moment. There's an image of Gumball sticking his head out of a car window titled Gumball Enjoying the Wind. Next up is a photo with Richard, Gumball, Darwin, and Nicole all looking anxiously at the fact that everyone wants a last slice of pizza, but there's only one between the four, titled Typical Dinner Scenario 1, 2, 3. Here's another interesting photo titled Man, Dad, Bites Spud, with Idaho looking very distraught at the fact that Richard is eating fries, implying that not only is Spud dead, but Richard is eating his body. We have another image of Darwin stuck in a tire with a faint reflection of Anais titled 4.5 hours later, There's an image of Richard flattened against the automatic doors with his food and drink spilled either all over him or around him titled Door Fail. We'd end this varied adventure with an image of Richard's foot with faces that resemble Darwin, Gumball, Nicole, and Richard with Anais's finger next to the Richard-looking toe titled Dad's Family Foot. The account predates the premiere of the show, being created in March 2011 with the show premiering later on in May. Darwin's royalty. As mentioned within Above the Ice, Darwin has changed through several voice actors, particularly focusing on his voice actor for season 1 up until the episode The Kids. Kwesi Boyaki was reported to be connected to a royal bloodline. Kwesi Boyaki was born in Los Angeles, California, and is the great-grandson of a highly respected Ghana West African king. Kwesi continues to build upon his already vast acting portfolio in the city known to millions around the world as Tinseltown. He is also a series regular and voices the role of Darwin Watterson on the hugely popular Cartoon Network new animated series, The Amazing World of Gumball, proving that when it comes to greatness, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Ready?
Okay.
It is IMDb, so anyone can edit anything, but given that there hasn't been any pushback or edit since, I have no reason to believe that this can't be possible. Gumrob and Gumwin. I'd like to limit the amount of community degeneracy in this video because I think you get the point with a select few. Gumrob is the shipping of Gumball and Rob, with Gumwin being the ship of Gumball and Darwin, and I'll spare you the imagery and speak more about the community aspect. There exists pockets of the fandom that unironically ship these two and have created both visual art and fan fictions dedicated to exploring this topic. Putting aside the fact that Gumball and Darwin are brothers, albeit not biological, but brothers nonetheless, Gumrob would be a ship that fundamentally changes the show. The dynamic of Rob and Gumball is that Rob hates Gumball, but Gumball only sometimes hates Rob, mostly forgetting about him as Rob is a minor character turned main antagonist.
What is wrong with you? You just ruined the whole thing for me again! I don't believe it! You've got to be the most insufferable, annoying, selfish person I've ever met!
Their animosity fuels the Void storyline that led into the anticipation of a complete ending with the movie. Had they been enemies to lovers, then it would hurt Rob's character because his motivations aren't based in a lack of romantic love, but based in a lack of attention for him and people like him. Gumball would also have to like someone outside of Penny, which sounds horrible, and it would be the tackiest of cheese, pandering to the lowest common hopeless romantics to sweep up a giant childlike feud under the premise of underdeveloped romantic feelings. Consider some of this to be the last of the community perspectives I'll be sharing. The not so lovely art of Nicole. There exists art of Nicole Watterson in animated form that is extremely not safe for work that has garnered millions of views across a lot of other websites. The premise is that there exists a human version of Nicole and an anime-inspired version doing exactly what you would imagine them to do if it's an SJW video. However, what makes this specific piece notable outside of its popularity is that there exists 3 different sets of Nicole, Gumball, and Darwin, an anime chibi version, a human version, and the canon version. The anime chibi version are watching their mother do unspeakable things, proclaiming wisdom such as, "You're traumatizing us with things that will eventually make us curious in the future," while the human version takes the opposite stance, claiming that the irony of making popcorn out of a kid's cartoon shows rebellion against the society's standards to greatly emphasize their love. The punchline is that the canon versions are freaked out at what's happening in their living room. The Amazing Ride of Gumball. There exists a ride at IMG World of Adventures theme park in Dubai called The Amazing Ride of Gumball, based on the show. According to the website's description, visit the town of Elmore, where Gumball and Darwin's school science project has gone out of control and unleashed chaos. Save the day by competing with your friends to zap the objects that have come to life and are threatening to take over the town.
Dad, why in a big emergency?
I wanted to watch TV, but I can't reach the remote.
Don't worry, Dad. I'll
You go through recreations of the environment such as the various rooms of the Watterson home, the school's lunchroom, the school's classroom, as well as an interactive shooting game where you shoot robots, vegetables, bugs, Daisy the donkey, and tons of other items with laser guns. You'll end up seeing standees for various in-show characters as well as impressive recreations of popular settings in what appears to be an automated ride. There also appears to be original animation made for this ride tailored towards the plot or goal of the ride. Logan Grove's Navy Ties. Logan Grove voiced Gumball up until the episode The Kids, and one thing to note about him is that after Gumball, according to his Twitter, he focused more on being an athlete, studying at the United States Naval Academy as a member of the Navy Midshipmen. This is confirmed in an image of Logan Grove alongside Jacob Hopkins and Nicholas Cantu, titled 3 Generations of #Gumball Watterson right here. He'd clarify in a reply, "Dude, Logan P. Grove serves our country. He's a Navy officer. #respect. His Twitter and website are obviously inactive for the time being. Scrapped episodes. There exist 3 scrapped episodes accounted for at least on the Gumball wiki, and 2 more that we know existed but don't know the names of. The first of the named ones is called The Rex, initially planned for season 2, quote, but was scrapped because of its exceeding budget costs for production and because it was not worth the price. Storyboarded by Gene Texier, according to their website, we see what may have been a fun action sequence involving Tina, Gumball, Darwin, Anais, Principal Brown, Idaho, and possibly Tina's family. It is quite clear that this episode would have parodied Jurassic Park.
Darwin, keep absolutely still. Her vision is based on movement.
That only works in movies.
At the time, this would have been Tina's 3rd major role after the season 1 episodes The Quest and The Fight, and most notably, this would have been the first full, maybe major appearance of Mr. Rex. He'd later appear within the series within the episode The Routine. Lastly, there's also The Pizza, not the episode that would go on to be named The Pizza, but a scrapped episode named The Pizza that would have been used within season 1. This one is confirmed by Ben's Twitter alongside The Mom, both of which the idea for them seemed to be lost to the sands of time or archived within the Cartoon Network's vault, not to be seen again. The Pizza and The Mom were 2 of 4 episodes scrapped for season 1, with the other 2 unnamed but confirmed at the time. Banana Barbara's Future Vision. The Oracle is the 31st episode of season 3 of The Amazing World of Gumball. The synopsis goes, quote, after discovering a prophetic painting depicting Gumball's naked run through the mall, he is determined to avoid that outcome. This is Banana Barbara's 2nd major role within the series, right after the Mothers, also in season 3. However, rather than just being Banana Joe's oblivious derpy mother here, she had a much bigger impact. She was portrayed as the lady who painted the future, and this worries Gumball, but also Darwin and Anais as they try to avoid the events depicted in it.
Alright, Destiny! If I have to be humiliated on national TV, it's going to be on my terms!
What the?
Yeah, I took extra precautions.
But there's no need!
To the savvy fan, they may remember how this episode ended. One of the most iconic still images of the show, because it says so much, yet not enough at the same time. We see Banana Barbara looking into the camera after painting what appears to be the Watterson family within an ever-breaking Elmore that is within the void. We'd see the old version of Gumball's house in the top right as well, and what makes this significant is that Banana Barbara's comments always panned out to be true, so a lot of hardcore fans take this as Bible of what is to come. She'd also paint the future within the show, but what is the most significant episode to show all of this is the future, a season 6 episode.
Perfect. See ya in the future, Rob!
But there is no future.
Not only was she depicted to show that she can paint the future, even if it happens within a few seconds, but she directly predicted what was the ending scene within the season 6 finale. The J.N. Janker interview. What separates my iceberg from any other icebergs out there about the Amazing World of Gumball is entries like this. A long time ago, I was reached out to by Nicholas Cantu, one of the voices of Gumball, around the time that he was working with many other content creators under the name Junky Janker. I remember the conversation to be friendly, but also a bit hyperactive. We thought about making a very casual interview, and I brought on another creator at the time, Brody Animates. It was going to be an interview done while playing Minecraft, probably getting around to the Ender Dragon and cutting it all up into an accessible video. It never materialized because at the time, the audio itself was pretty rough sounding and it never would have really worked as a video. However, here are some highlights of what could have been.
Alpha J show, more like the Alpha Gay show.
Dude, you know, I've heard that way too much.
No,
wow, Brody, every
first
single
one.
joke you make is unoriginal.
No, that's the joke, Nicholas.
I am notoriously bad at collabs, I'm not gonna lie, to the point where the collabs I have nowadays, I treat them like life and death. The real-life Watterson home censorship. As we all know, the Amazing World of Gumball is modeled off of real-life locations as explained within the Above the Ice segment. However, since the show's inception and up until a few years ago, the home modeled into what we know as the Wattersons' home has been blurred on Google Earth. There is not an official reason, but there is large speculation that the house was visited way too frequently, with the owner or neighborhood getting very annoyed at this aspect. It is a side effect of mixing a popular show with real life, as this has been the case a few other times. One notable example being when Rick and Morty and McDonald's collaborated on dipping sauces.
I'm Pickle Rick!
Korean promo. There exists a video which apparently was used for promotional material in Korea and Japan involving the Amazing World of Gumball. It features Gumball, Darwin, Miss Simian, Juke, Banana Joe, Bobert, Tobias, Anais, Carmen, Ocho, Tina, Leslie, Masami, Richard, and a son. It uses animation from the season 1 episode The Party, but is a mostly new animated song and dance. Now I stress that I am not proficient in the language of anything other than American, I barely know English, but these are the apparent lyrics, according to the wiki. While I am alone, I dance, 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 and shake my blue butt. Everyone shake your glorious butt. Everyone don't forget your blue butt. Don't ever fall, and shake your exciting blue butt. Everyone shake it perfectly. Everyone, get it right, boys. 1, 2, 3, 4, shake your blue butt. Intermission warning. Everyone, shake your glorious butt. Everyone, don't forget your blue butt. Do it now. Do it like you want. Shake it, move it, move it. Everyone shake it perfectly. Everyone have fun dancing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Shake your blue butt. Shake your blue butt. Shake your blue butt. The video combines a few different styles and generous interpretations of the characters we've known and loved. The Butterfly Effect. Although as a single appearance, the Butterfly is one of the most destructive characters within the series. In his only appearance, aptly titled The Butterfly, Ms. Simian attempts to emphasize the importance of containing the butterfly within the jar, noting the famous butterfly effect. The butterfly effect is a real principle in chaos theory, the classic example of which theorizes that a butterfly flapping its wings can alter the path of a tornado, or even cause one through a domino effect.
How could anyone believe that something so tiny could destroy a whole town?
A bit jarring in appearance, the butterfly is responsible for all of the chaos that happens within this episode, which is a bit much even for Elmore, all the way down to a tornado that was seen ripping through Elmore and is on its way towards the school before the episode ends. The butterfly is not as popular as Evil Turtle or Rob, but is one of the most destructive forces within the show. According to the wiki, his live-action face belongs to Chuck Klein, the show's former storyboard supervisor. Juke. The Boombox is the 34th episode of season 2 of The Amazing World of Gumball. It primarily features Juke, an exchange student from Boomboxenberg who speaks in a matter of beatboxing and drum samples. Like William, no one can understand what he's saying. Unlike William, people are aware that he is trying to say something.
You, licked the bricks you didn't fix. Okay, I'll try and say this politely, but you're gonna need to read between the lines. Due to personal circumstances, I'm unable to commit sufficient resources to resolve this communication problem.
Hey, show some understanding.
A large part of this episode revolves around Gumball and Darwin trying to understand him. Juke gets very frustrated trying to explain simple concepts. At the help of Alan, the boys erroneously think Juke is referring to a ritual called Grobblefest, and through the final stage, which is essentially a battle, they accidentally turn a switch on Juke's back off.
Ow! Right in the switch. You finally flicked the switch! I've been trying to explain this for 2 years!
Unfortunately, the episode ends with Gumball unknowingly turning the switch back on, meaning to this day, no one will be able to understand Juke until that switch is hit again. Krupoch the Barbarian. there exists a running toy line that is even more obscure than Daisy the Donkey. Krupoch the Barbarian is an action figure that was shown within the beginning of the plan, but also shown in the puppy when the evil turtle destroyed it in its habitat. We'd also see it within the name, with the evil turtle once more. It'd be partially covered in the bag of old toys within the puppets. It is unclear whether this toy line is popular or not, but it is a regular occurrence within the world of Gumball. I do enjoy the design of the character, and it would have been cool if it had a bigger appearance within the show. Light is a thing of the past. We've reached the darkest depths of the ocean, where it's less about the iceberg and more about our journey to the bottom of the sea. Things get even more obscure, even more dark, and even more unsettling. Banned episode in Russia. The Slap is the 35th episode of season 4 of The Amazing World of Gumball. I reviewed this episode within my search for the best series, and the synopsis goes as so. Tobias offends Gumball when he doesn't slap him on the butt. There exists a small dubbed clip of this episode in Russian, despite this episode never airing in the country.
Молодцы, хорошо играли. Увидимся. Совсем неплохо.
When you realize what the premise is, you can make a few guesses as to why it was banned, but as far as we know, there isn't an official reason beyond the speculative. With still images like this, and this, and this, it seems quite obvious. The Grieving. There exists a story titled The Grieving that details the story of watching a cursed episode of The Amazing World of Gumball. It details gruesome and dark events that I would love to cover in more detail in a future video, but for now, I think it's appropriate to at least tease you with the supposed letter sent to this person in this creepypasta because of this supposed episode. One thing, how in the heck did you find that? I never ever thought that I would think about that old shame again. Don't tell anyone this, Sarah. Yes, that's my name. But The Amazing World of Gumball goes back further than you know. I used to have a really boring job as a teen, and I sketched little drawings of the Watersons and friends. The episode you saw was never supposed to be seen by anyone but me and a few friends of mine. It was a very awful thing to do, but we made the episode as a joke. A guy from my old job who everyone hated had lost his child to a crazed serial killer who is apparently still out there somewhere. Anyway, we made it so that we can make fun of how he came into work usually crying like a fool, which is why you saw Mr. and Mrs. Watterson cry so much in the episode. I know, I'm deeply sorry for what I did, which is why I tried to bury that stupid thing years ago. Literally, I went out into the countryside with my mates and dug a hole and buried it. The Mirror. The Mirror is the 23rd episode of season 3 of The Amazing World of Gumball. According to the synopsis, against Darwin's advice, Gumball refuses to forward a scary email, bringing down a curse on the whole family.
Delete.
Wait! What are we gonna do if the Snatcher comes and takes all of your money and friends and family because he didn't forward his email?
Darwin, the only way to describe how stupid this sounds is by using words that I'm too young to know the meaning of.
This references the very popular and very fake chain messages that we're seeing across anything with a direct messaging system, which has died down in popularity even before this episode, I'd wager. However, because cartoon, this email actually has validity to it. We'd see that in the beginning there are situations that could have easily been chalked up to bad luck or just a coincidence. However, later on in the episode, it becomes impossible to deny the doings of a cursed extraterrestrial. Throughout this episode, Gumball would make fun of Darwin's beliefs between Bigfoot, horoscopes, and telepathy, but would think differently when Carrie comes into the picture, being both a ghost and one that's interested in all the spells, curse, and otherworldly history.
Hey guys, leave some for us.
It is one of the darkest episodes of the show, despite it not being brought up as much. There is a forbidden book that Carrie uses in an attempt to break the spell of the Snatcher, which grants spells at a cost. The ending of this episode is very significant, but I will come back to it once we reach the bottom of the sea. The Joy Virus. The Joy is the 4th episode of season 3 of The Amazing World of Gumball. The premise reads as so. Miss Simian has to save herself from a contagious joy virus infecting the whole school. Premiering in 2014, this episode has a very eerie vibe to it. Although the exposition is dressed with the funny, just another Monday sort of explanation as to why Gumball and Darwin are so upset in the beginning of this episode, it is what Richard does to aid it. He has what are called wonder hugs, and whether the hug reacted strongly to Gumball and Darwin's very irritated nature or that Richard had this power in him all along, it is never explained or reflected in this episode.
What's up?
It's Monday.
I see. Do you want a hug?
There's no point. Everything on Monday is crummy.
What about a wonder hug?
What's that?
It's filled with all the love and happiness in the world.
That sounds crummy too.
Wonder hug!
Miss Simian, who is naturally a killjoy, enjoys her Mondays particularly cold and miserable. Seeing Gumball and Darwin being happy and unnaturally happy, while grounds for inspection, is largely waved off as Miss Simian being a grouch and not wanting anyone around her to be happy. It isn't until the duo infects Principal Brown that it becomes a problem, but by that point, it is too late. Everyone in the school gets infected in a matter of seconds, with the only one willing to quarantine the problem being the only one who can escape.
I'm sorry, but it's your own fault. You're so multicolored, I thought you were one of them.
A carrot is dangled, where if Miss Simian plays Moonlight Sonata, a very well-known classical piece, it may deter the joy virus. However, by the time she makes her way to the PA system, it is too late, and the episode ends with everyone involved being infected, including Tobias, who, while had a scene where he was deliberately not infected, can be seen towards the end alongside Tina's very demonic glance. The Job. The Job is the 8th episode of Season 2 of The Amazing World of Gumball. I have covered this episode in depth, so I'll be rather brief. This episode deals with Richard getting his first job as a pizza delivery guy, and similarly to The Joy, has a character who sees the potential danger that may come from this and is constantly shot down by the people around them, saying that this person is overreacting. That person in this episode is Nicole.
Wait a minute, show me that. Look at the crack down the earth. And your father's eyes? I've got a bad feeling about this.
Mom, please. It's just delivering pizzas. How long can it go?
Nicole sees Richard having a job as fundamentally tearing the fabric of the universe, with Anais trying to calm her down to no avail. As Richard goes to deliver the pizza, Elmore starts being ripped out from the ground, with everything that isn't bolted down rising into the air. Beings and objects start to glitch between realities, with Larry doing his best to not fire Richard. Despite overwhelming evidence that he should, Nicole even devolves into a pile of goo. What ends up getting Richard fired, which was hinted at earlier, is that he's been eating parts of the pizzas that he was supposed to be delivering. Had Richard played things straight, it is likely that Elmore as we knew it would have been gone. The banana is trapped in time. A small tidbit that I'd like to separate from the job itself is a scene within it that has some horrific implications.
Ah, pizza! Pizza, pizza, 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 pizza!
Okay. What makes this unsettling is the fact that we don't know if the Banana family was self-aware that this is going on, or if they were trying to call for help, but given their eccentric personalities, it was assumed to be this general level of weirdness that they're always at. They were essentially trapped in time with no way out, doomed by their own natural goofiness. It makes me wonder, what would have happened if Larry had not fired Richard? Would they still be stuck in time? Would they not exist? These are answers I'd love to know. Dodger Dare. The game is the 29th episode of Season 2 of The Amazing World of Gumball. It revolves around a homemade board game that has made several appearances up to this point. The objective of the game is to travel the board from start to finish, picking up dare cards along the way. If someone decides not to do the dare, then they must pick up a dodge card.
Although, of course, technically this card says everything in the house.
I am wearing everything, even Dad's fat camp girdle.
Everything, Anais, not just clothes. The couch is a thing. Are you wearing that?
What?
No arguing, young lady. You need to learn to be a good loser. Now take your dodge. The floor is now red-hot lava.
Actually felt that through 6 pairs of shoes. It's starting!
Created by Gumball and Darwin, between the events of the car and the game, Gumball and Darwin have decided that it is in their best interest to not play Dodger Dare anymore. However, upon Nicole finding the game, she insists, along with the rest of the family, to play the game. Despite Gumball and Darwin's heavy recommendation that they don't do it because once you start, you have to continue until the game is over. Although it took a lot of time for the rest of the family to understand this, between these points were the family dealing with the real-life consequences that these cards were able to wield, such as the floor being lava but only for Anais, or Richard and Darwin's hands being tied together from the power of a card.
Okay, we need maximum rolls every turn, which means no dodges, no matter how bad the dares are. Agreed? Dodge.
What happened to taking every dare?
Do you really want to see me clean myself with my tongue?
Dodge, dodge, dodge!
What? It is not explained how two kids were able to craft such a powerful game, or even that they did. However, after the events of that episode, which I did cover, they've decided to never play the game again, and we haven't seen it since except for a cameo in a Nobody. Baby Anais. Baby Anais can mean two wildly different things. It can refer to the song that was sang in the tape, a season 2 episode of The Amazing World of Gumball, where they parodied dolls marketed to young girls in which they can take care of them.
It's Baby Anais, the living baby doll.
She likes to eat her cookies.
It's Baby Anais, the living baby doll.
She likes to drink milk. She's really drinking it.
It's Baby Anais, the living baby doll.
However, the Baby Anais that I'm referring to is in the season 6 premiere of the show, The Rival. In this, Anais is a newborn baby, and while Gumball and Darwin present a bit of jealousy, she sets her sights on ruining them both with her intellect and innocent reputation. Even her face is presented to be very evil and full of intent to be the best cared for child. Anais tries multiple times not just to injure, but outright maim Gumball and Darwin, who are children and at worst just presenting sibling rivalry. She displays a very sobering level of self-awareness, wanting to put Gumball and Darwin in the ground, showing this in a drawing she's made herself.
What's that you're drawing?
Oh, very good. Is that Mommy?
And Mr. Daddy?
And where are we? Oh, we're the flowers?
Oh, right.
Mind you, this is a very young version of Gumball and Darwin, who were scarred in various near-death experiences, and basically what we learned from this is that Anais got off scot-free, but everyone has kind of gotten over this awkward period of time. Mr. Robinson's heart. Mr. Robinson's psyche would have been given a deep dive multiple times throughout the show. On a physical gag level within the episode The Debt, he'd have his heart pressed out of him via Gumball's either poorly or perfect execution of the Heimlich maneuver. Mr. Robinson, gasping for air, collapses to the ground, uses his tongue to scoop his heart back into his body. Obviously not as graphic as if it were a human, it doesn't change the fact that Gumball nearly killed Mr. Robinson. However, in addition to this, we'd see Mr. Robinson's heart revisited in the season 6 episode titled The Heart, where after unknowingly being heard saying disparaging comments, Gumball and Darwin would learn at the end of the episode that Mr. Robinson's heart is just unable to process any positive emotion because they are, quote, dangerous and can lead to heartbreak.
What are you doing?
I'm protecting myself.
From what?
Do you mean feelings?
Gumball would tear out Mr. Robinson's heart and sing it a song, unknowingly doing more damage to his heart than in the last time within The Debt. After an attempted CPR, Mr. Robinson's heart goes back into the protection of Mr. Robinson's body. It's actually quite wild that Gumball would have 2 distinct times of mismanaging Mr. Robinson's physical heart. Rachel Wilson. The Party is the 17th episode of season 1 of The Amazing World of Gumball. It revolves around a party that is crashed by Miss Simian's class, but later also Miss Simian and Principal Brown. The party originally was planned for the friends of one Rachel Wilson, Tobias's older sister. In her first and only speaking role, she required everyone to have a date to attend the party, which was a catalyst for what turned into a Gumball and Penny episode.
Hey, what about Penny?
Penny? Oh, no. I just like her as a friend.
Why are eyes shaped like hearts?
Allergies.
Although Rachel played a major part, her character was largely reactionary, being angry that Tobias is welcoming his friends, being sad that they trash her house, and being overjoyed when Darwin helps clean up her house. Speaking of, this counts as one of Darwin's love interests, obviously not the final one. Ever since this episode though, we would be shocked to know that she would not make another speaking appearance in the show. Ever. She'd appear in The Curse and The Matchmaker, but the former is incidental and the latter is a flashback. The story of Rachel Wilson is one that ticked the curiosity of fans worldwide when they slowly came to the realization that this character was pretty much wiped from any future episode. Ironically, within an Elmore Jr. highlight segment, she would be described as, quote, no fan of all of his, Tobias's, dweeb loser baby friends, but when it comes down to it, she's a lot more rainbow-colored bark than rainbow-colored bite. Basically saying that she's a pushover.
Hey, look! I'm gonna throw the TV out of the window!
Please, allow me.
No, not the TV!
With words like that and the notion that some of the staff did not like her character, Rachel disappeared as fast as she made her debut. It wouldn't be until Darwin's yearbook, specifically the Clayton episode about 9 years later, where they tease her being gone, but make it clear that she just went to college.
Yeah, I've been meaning to ask. What happened to your sister Rachel?
Oh, she's gone.
Gone? Like, gone the way of the dinosaur?
No, gone to college, obviously. Anyway, cool party, right?
Hopefully it brings closure to what was a highly speculated disappearance. Gumball's DNA. The Apprentice is the 16th episode of Season 4 of The Amazing World of Gumball. A Gumball and Mr. Fitzgerald-centric episode, Gumball spends all of the episode trying to prove to Penny's father that he is the right person for her.
This is the perfect chance to protect you in a vulnerable situation. Commencing Operation Peanut Butter. Sir, it may not be safe. I'll go in first. Clear! Clear! All clear. You are good to go, sir.
As we know, Gumball isn't known for being particularly lucky, and a lot of his well-meaning efforts go wrong, but also right when it comes to the CEO of Chanax Inc. During the elevator scene, Gumball expresses concern that Mr. Fitzgerald may be worried about the genes that Gumball has, and how it may affect Fitzgerald's lineage down the line. Acknowledging this via speaking about Richard, Gumball offers a solution, directly altering his DNA. What started out as a simple alterations continued into weird but ultimately harmless modifications, but then would result in a genetic mutation that is very imaginative, but also rather daunting.
I'll,
Take the next one?
No, I was gonna say I'm gonna wear my eyes the other way around and bleach my brain.
It's rather short, but graphic, relative to Cartoon Network's modern standards. The Safety. The Safety is the 32nd episode of Season 3 of The Amazing World of Gumball. Although we will revisit the beginning of this episode soon, what I want to focus on is the outcome of the beginning of the episode. After watching a Safety video, we see a different side of Darwin that hasn't been seen often within the show. He becomes not just obsessed, but paranoid, anxious, and flat out insane.
Dude, I think you might be overreacting just a teeny tiny bit.
I love you too much to let you get hurt. I'll keep you safe. I'll keep everyone safe. Are you kids all right? Come on.
Sorry!
After brutalizing Betty twice, Darwin seems to have the power to change everything around him, from what the Watterson family eats to what they watch. It seems like everyone gets under the trance of believing Darwin's crazy decisions are, quote, for their own good, which is said multiple times throughout this episode. Not only does Darwin end up chaining the Watterson family to chairs with a camera pointed at them, but completely revamps the way law is enforced in Elmore, suggesting that more than the Watterson family believed in Darwin's new methods. What makes this unsettling is that Darwin has the power to shift the entire city to his liking because of his nice and innocent demeanor, and this is an example of it being used for nefarious reasons. Even people like Nicole and Anais, who are known for being smarter than your average bear, were easily influenced by Darwin's cute voice and inflection.
How do you know all this?
He told us.
Why didn't you stop him?
Because it's Darwin. He's really cute.
He was all like,
Our resistance is futile. Those who stray from the path will be corrected.
Today is safer Elmore. Tomorrow is safer world.
What? How could you not see that he was dangerous?
Darwin was able to manipulate reality, inserting actual censors on anything remotely violent, which from the perspective of the characters, made them incredibly confused because they are aware that they actually didn't do anything. Darwin was unknowingly evil in this episode and shown to be incredibly powerful if compelled by a right cause, a cause that we'll get to in the last section. Mr. Chanax's demise. The Boss is the 13th episode of Season 3 of The Amazing World of Gumball. After Mr. Robinson blows a fuse, literally, he needs a stuffing transplant from the right donor. In this case, Rocky.
That's his son Rocky. He's a janitor at our school.
I want nothing for that loser. He's an embarrassment to the Robinson name. I'd rather get stuffing from a turkey.
Although this episode served as more of a peek into the Robinson family, including Mrs. Robinson's perspective, more on her later, this episode also served as the debut of Mr. Chanax. As explained earlier, Chanax Inc. is subject to a lot of weird and corrupt actions, explained within Below the Iceberg. What makes this one of the most significant is that we get to see Chanax Inc. at its most pure, even if it's pure evil.
Come on, man, it's just a job.
Kid, they kept me here 47 years straight. I missed my own wedding, my kids growing up.
even my own retirement.
Mr. Chanax would be confronted by Gumball and Darwin after they realized Rocky signed away his rights to work forever at a desk job in Chanax Incorporated and would turn into this crumbled, corrupt creation. He'd explain that he enjoys feeding on the souls of those who signed their rights away, having the ability to force his employees to do anything with the way that he waves his hands and Rocky does whatever Mr. Chanax wishes. It's even more sinister when you witness how on the way here, there's a lot of scary monsters that keep the place in order, from the Goblin who'd later become the boss of Chanax Inc, which was discussed a bit earlier when it comes to Gumball's DNA, but also the Secretary and the talking file cabinets.
I'm free! I'm finally free!
Although it is a mere jab at the corporate structure, seeing Gumball and Darwin rip up Rocky's contract, causing Mr. Chanax to essentially die on the spot, was pretty brutal. The Goblin would take control of Chanax Inc, leading into the events of The Apprentice. The Limit. The Limit is the 30th episode of Season 2 of The Amazing World of Gumball. The premise goes as so. Nicole gets upset with the family at the supermarket when they attempt to get candy. Although within the beginning we see marshmallow stoppers and rainbow cake, the episode deals with the rather childish way Gumball, Darwin, Anais, and Richard attempt to persuade and trick Nicole into buying them candy at the supermarket. Nicole insists that a family errand done together is a treat enough and that they don't need any more candy, but of course, they disagree.
Hey, woman! You're gonna listen to me and you're gonna listen good! I'm calling the shots now! Hey! You listen to the man when he's talking!
While Nicole was doing a fine job dealing with the kids, it isn't until Richard gets in on the situation that Nicole has some choice words.
Let me get this straight. I asked you to finally step up as a father and set a good example for your children. And the way you interpreted that was to take them shoplifting. That's it? I think you've all done it. You finally pushed me over.
Over what?
This pushes her past her limit, and we spend the rest of this episode dealing with the different Nicole.
Freeze, ma'am! Please, don't make me do this!
This Nicole is unhinged, which isn't aided by the makeup job Gumball, Anais, and Darwin did earlier. She has these glowing yellow-orange eyes that stare directly into your soul. Literally, it isn't until she sees herself that she's able to snap out of this mood, but if it weren't for that, this ending would be a lot different, and I'll leave that to your imagination. Sussy's origin. Although I've spoken about the origins within the upper body, there exists a small scene within this two-part special that I would like to focus on. Within the second part of the origins, Darwin is flushed away to sea accidentally and must find his way back to his family. Within this long and arduous trek, he'd reach what we'd come to learn as Sussy and her parents. Upon approach, Darwin would greet the family, with Sussy's parents making a life-changing mistake.
When I grow up, I want to be a lawyer like you, Father. Hello!
Ah, talking dog!
It is pretty much confirmed that Sussy is the way that she is because she was dropped on her head, and this explains why her parents are incredibly competent and not weird, but she is. It's both a very funny and not funny moment when you realize that she's ostracized by the rest of Elmore Junior High for the most part. We've reached it, ladies and gentlemen, the bottom of the sea. After a long, perilous journey down, full of twists and turns, theories and lore, the known and the unknown, this layer is some of the darkest and most obscure corners of the Gumball universe. I'd advise you not to delve into this section for too long, as weird things can happen down here where the light doesn't shine. Banana Joe's mutilation. Starting off this section, the promise is the 32nd episode of Season 2 of The Amazing World of Gumball. It is an episode that delves into the insecurity of Gumball and his friendship with Darwin being tested by Darwin's want to spend time with Banana Joe, because they make it clear in this episode that they don't have too many positive recent memories with him. Up to this point, Banana Joe's other major appearances was in the aptly titled Banana, in which Gumball and Darwin also did Banana Joe wrong and had to make it up to him.
Do you mind moving up a seat so we can
I'd move for anyone except you two backstabbing dweeb muffins.
It is revealed in this episode that because of the events that Gumball and Darwin had a part in, in, Banana Joe lost his feet to frostbite. However, that isn't the focus here. What is that Banana Joe wished to do a gym workout video specifically on what to do when you have and don't have a spotter. However, because of the amount of weight that he chose, this video ended up backfiring in a spectacular way. Upon lifting the first weight, it crushed his body with his insides gushing out all over the floor and bench. The more he tried to get out of the situation, the more his insides were spilled out. His face was badly bruised, and towards the end, he was stuck within a treadmill, fighting for his life, thinking that Gumball and Darwin were going to save him.
I'll be here soon. I'll be here soon. They'll be here any minute now.
It is implied by the lights going out that he wasn't saved for a while, sitting wedged in a treadmill in agony until someone came to save him, putting him in a full body cast for the rest of the episode. A death in the Pepperoni family. The Job is the 8th episode of season 2 of The Amazing World of Gumball. There exists a scene in the middle where Gumball and Darwin are shown helping Richard out with his new job by delivering pizza to the Pepperoni family. The episode makes it very clear that this is not a regular pizza delivery, but a baby delivery, something that we'd be inclined to believe due to the section about apps being sentient in the lower body section.
Oh, he's beautiful.
Thank you so much. Here's a 20.
Gumball accidentally may have murdered their child. While we know of their family to have another child in the understanding, which was discussed in the lower body, that was a full pepperoni, whereas this baby was going to look closer to how Siciliana and Quattro are. This gets even more horrifying when you realize that Richard was eating the middle of these pizzas within this episode. The Downer. The Downer is the 37th episode of season 3 of The Amazing World of Gumball. This episode revolves around Gumball waking up in a bad mood, and after a few unsuccessful attempts from his family to cheer him up, he wishes for them all to disappear. Now, this is leading into something later down the line that we'll discuss, but given that Gumball is kind of the main character, he held the power to make sure that his family disappeared.
Okay, the whole town has planned an elaborate party for me, and they're about to jump out and surprise me now! Surprise! Wait, that's what they're supposed to say. Now! No? Alright then.
A physical manifestation of darkness approaches Gumball with urgency, and his entire mood changes, trying to escape the darkness that appears to be right around the corner, no matter where he goes. Eventually, it consumes him, and we see Gumball literally in a place where no one and nothing exists. We learn at the end of the episode that Gumball manifested the entire thing, and from everyone else's perspective, that wasn't the case. This is similar to the episode in season 6 called The Vegging, where Gumball, but also Darwin, spent majority of the beginning portion of the episode tuning the world out to the point where we saw an entire alien invasion apocalypse happen, and also in the stories where they were using their tuning out powers around Molly. However, did you know that in the Downer, Benbo Clay confirmed that the beginning was too dark? It really makes you wonder exactly what it originally was. Unfortunately, we don't know because Ben, in that same thread, would decline to share any information about it. The bath salts joke. The Nuisance is the 36th episode of season 5 of The Amazing World of Gumball. The synopsis reads as so. The Watersons fear the worst when they are summoned to a town hall meeting, but are surprised when they're offered a new house, until they discover it's in a different state. Probably known more for the reveal of the Mayor of Elmore, there exists a scene within the show that was cut for speculatory reasons. During this episode, Gumball suggests adding bath salts to the town's water supply. This was swapped to now say soap suds. The wiki writes, bath salts is a term used in North America and Europe to describe a number of recreational designer drugs. The man responsible for the Miami cannibal attack was believed to be on bath salts, though this was disproven, and was referenced by Mr. Small attacking and biting Tony. Although quite minor, it is a very sinister thing to suggest. Milk Guy. Milk Guy is a minor character within the show. Sporting a police hat with no uniform, it is unclear if he's associated with the police force of Elmore. However, what is clear is his role as a security guard, and the 3 death or near-death experiences that he's had.
Son, park her up, will you? And be careful with the paint job. It costs more than you make it a year. Let me fix that. Oh.
Whether because of wacky cartoon antics, the parking, having some very generous character reuse goofs, or Gumball sticking money in the wound, he was shown to be healthy later on. There is also the season 5 episode The Copycats, where the Watterson family crashed into the toll booth he was in, seeing another family that looked just like theirs drive beside them.
What the...
The third time was within The Brain, a season 6 episode where Richard mistakes a toll booth for a drive-thru window, leading Milk Guy to get steamed at the lack of respect. However, when Principal Brown does the same thing, he literally explodes within the toll booth, making it very clear that it's not easy to keep Milk Guy intact. Technically, Milk Guy doesn't count for being dead, but just like with Anton, he has been down in a lot of death or near-death experiences to the point where it's unsettling. The Parasite. Anais is a very interesting character. She's been used as the smart prodigy child of the show, sometimes in introspective moments, but also other times used to be the sarcastic voice of an already quite cynical show. However, we rarely see Anais' friends, and we'd learned through the season 4 episode The Parasite that she has very poor social skills. Although Gumball and Darwin would assume that Anais is the one being taken advantage of, similar to what people perceived Gumball to be during the fight, where Anais thought that Gumball was being taken advantage of by Tina, here it is much less a misunderstanding and more of a cartoonishly gross perception of friendship.
Jody, we're friends, right?
Sure.
Best friends?
Well,
you want some candy?
Okay.
What'd you want? Don't worry, I'll buy one of each. That's what friends are for. Yeah.
Jody Mallard is a minor character who plays a major role within The Parasite. Quite timid and antisocial, combined with Anais' awkward social skills, it led into a very bad scenario. A fusion, literally.
Hey, Jody. Please don't cry. It wasn't really Anais on the phone. I just thought you were being a bad friend to her.
Jody, do you need a tissue?
Or a bucket?
It wouldn't be until the nurse confronts the situation, confirming that Anais is the one clutching onto Jody, that Gumball and Darwin finally confront their sister on the way that she makes friends. Anais within this episode was a literal parasite, and given that we don't know much about her other peers, it isn't clear to know if she's done a better job. One of the very small bits of evidence that suggests otherwise is the season 6 episode The Buddy, but that forced Jamie and Anais to be together because of a crime that they were wrongfully accused of. It doesn't show how Anais would naturally approach people. Eating their own kind. I've spoken positively about the diversity within Gumball numerous times within this video. However, as a fan of the show, I would be remiss if I didn't speak about the levels of implied cannibalism. I do want to preface this by saying that of all of the examples, they're all humorous in nature and nothing to get worried or offended about, just merely stating an observation I've seen. Sarah is a reoccurring character within the show, and despite being an ice cream cone, she's been seen eating ice cream before. Again, going back to episodes like The Extras or The World, where it was explicitly told that inanimate objects can be alive, it does make you think. Donut Cop, even back in the season 1 episode The Spoon, was shown craving donuts, and Anton, who is literal bread, was shown eating a sandwich.
What? You want my sandwich? Here, you can have it. Please let me go!
Again, all of these moments were small and comedic, but when you realize that Elmore is a bit more alive than it lets on, it does seem a bit questionable. It would be akin to if you sat down at a lunchroom and saw someone eating a human. I don't know what school you went to, but for me, that would be uncommon. Carrie and Her Father. Getting back to the mirror, as we've spoken about before, the ending scene is both heartwarming and one of the darkest moments within the show. As explained earlier, the mirror is a season 3 episode of the show where Gumball gets cursed by the Snatcher, who we would learn is Vladis Lovus Lokowici. Although a single appearance character, his impact on the show cannot be understated because while cursed to a life of haunting, all because he fell in love with a mirror inhabiting ghost, he is also the father of Carrie.
Hey Carrie, can you please tell Darwin that the Snatcher doesn't exist?
See? Even Carrie is freaked out by the curse.
I think it was more the fact that we were eating underwear in public.
Carrie would have had to have gone a long time not knowing of this information, because it surely couldn't have been because she didn't know where he was, given that you can summon any ghost by saying their name 5 times. This contradicts a later episode, The Matchmaker, where Carrie's name was only said 3 times and she appeared. It's a nice touch that despite Gumball and Darwin calling their name 5 times, she only slaps Gumball. It is up for fierce debate as to whether Carrie was born immortal or born a ghost. Towards the end of that episode, around the crack of dawn, Carrie brought Gumball and Darwin, who look like this because of the various spells that they were told not to do, and did regardless. Through the mirror was a snatcher, but within that ghostly exterior lied the father that Carrie would be happy to see. He'd still recognize her, going in to embrace a hug, only to be met with ghostly limitations and a tragic fall to his death.
Dad! Is he okay? No.
Carrie, in fact, was a witness to seeing the way her father died. This episode treats it lightly, of course, as this is a roundabout way to make him a ghost, but it is implied that his mortal corpse lied on the Watterson lawn. Gumball's Fantastic Land. Gumball's Fantastic Land is a pair of 2 popular videos animated by content creator Exploshi, which racked up a collective 22 million views at the time of recording this. The story is rather simple. Gumball eliminates Darwin after he eats his Arlo cereal in the first video, and within the second video, he is seen being interrogated by his family about it to no avail. Compared to some of the other community animations, this one is a lot more disturbing, something that would legitimately be shocking to see if someone were to see it on Cartoon Network at 3 AM. The animation, while amazing and well executed for its concept, was also very jarring and gruesome. With the pacing borrowing a lot from YouTube poops back in the day, it is very clear that Exploshi had something special with this, alongside the rest of his content. I would recommend a watch on this, particularly at night. Alan's Organs. The Traitor is the 19th episode of season 4 of The Amazing World of Gumball. The name refers to the fact that Gumball thinks of Alan as a traitor after bailing on their time together, when in reality, Alan had greater priorities on his plate.
Everyone thinks it's so perfect, so I invited you over to make up for the way I treated you, but to avoid hanging out with me, you lied about your mother being ill.
But my mom is ill.
Or maybe she's just exhausted from all the fun she's been having today. Stop pretending!
Although there existed a book that described the procedure to transplant the flatulum, it is very clear that Gumball and Darwin are not completely out of their depth. However, before they can finish the surgery, successfully or not, Alan starts deflating. If we are to believe that balloons are sentient in this world and that balloons are capable of medical procedures, then that implies that Alan's insides are not air. That being confirmed when Alan completely freaks out to the sight of his own organs being forcefully pushed out of his body.
I think the anesthetic's worn off.
How can you tell?
My insides are pouring out! What do we do? What do we do?
Again, like with the milk guy or the pizza baby, Gumball has a history of unnecessarily putting people in life-threatening situations. Watch Out Little Teddy. Watch Out Little Teddy is the informational video played in the beginning of the safety. If that name rings a bell, we discussed the episode in whole in the previous section, The Darkest Depths, and how it turned Darwin from a sweet, innocent child into a paranoid, anxious dictator fueled by everyone's wrong perception of his very dangerous words and actions. The video revolves around Little Teddy, a bear that is prone to accidents and a narrator that speaks very softly and calm, until Little Teddy gets into trouble.
Teddy is helping the senior citizen. That's kind of you, Teddy. It's nice to be nice. But watch out, Little Teddy.
Be careful around strangers! And cars!
Animated by Jeremy Perrin, it remains one of the most disturbing canon image sequences from the show.
Okay, everyone take the rest of the day off. I'm just gonna...
This would be the second segment that Perrin was involved in, the first being alongside Michael Robert, working on the pixel art sequence from The Words. The Saints. The Saints is the 29th episode of season 3 of The Amazing World of Gumball. This episode revolves around Gumball trying to find Alan's breaking point and features 2 very disturbing scenes. The first one happens in the middle of the episode, where after Gumball tries a few methods to get Alan to break, within an empty classroom, most likely Miss Simian's classroom, Gumball shows Alan a video.
Now, who wants to see balloon tricks?
No, please! I have a son! Dexter, make it stop!
Dude, how can you be smiling at this?
Look at the happiness they're bringing to those children.
The other point was a little later down the line, where after giving up on his destroy Alan's life plan, Gumball and Darwin decide to say yes to every opportunity that comes their way. One of these opportunities would come from a shady scientist who, after giving Gumball and Darwin medicine, would show quite possibly the worst and grossest mutation of the duo within the entire show.
Yes!
I don't feel so good.
Yeah.
What?
Me neither.
Thanks, guys! I'll follow those under never try this again.
Yay!
Side note, during the scenes where Gumball shows Carmen photos of not Alan kissing people and objects all over Elmore Junior High, there was a noticeable cut between the images, and the image that appears to have been suppressed was one where not Alan was kissing Leslie. I have not been able to find out why, but if I were to speculate, despite kissing Tobias and attempting to kiss Banana Joe, who are both dudes, Leslie is the only guy who shows approval of said kiss, which they removed, so that's kind of awkward. The Petals. The Petals is the 35th episode of The Amazing World of Gumball. When Leslie's petals begin falling off, he feels like his good looks are fading, so Gumball and Darwin use everything they know about style and beauty to try and help him. Although not the first Gumball and Leslie-centric episode, that honor going to the flower in season 2, which was spoken about briefly within the surface, Gumball and Leslie haven't been on the same page often. Within this episode, Leslie expresses a very self-centered prima donna side that, while teased within the season 3 episode The Triangle, comes out full force here.
Headshot, body shot, paparazzi, twist and bottle. Headshot, body shot, looking nasty, turn and shot. Beauty, catwalk, beauty, fashion.
However, unbeknownst to everyone, Leslie would start to slowly rot in the face area, which is unfortunately like 30 to 40% of his body, leading into a lot of self-loathing and hiding away from the rest of the school. Gumball and Darwin would unsuccessfully help Leslie out, including but not limited to accessorizing to limit how much of his face is seen, tanning to the point of lighting him on fire, dousing him in so much water that he slightly inflates, and spraying him with so much parasite spray that Leslie starts hallucinating.
Beautiful.
Wait! I'm more beautiful than I've ever been! Look at me, world! A dag on my eleganza!
This would be bad if the show didn't go further and exceed those expectations. Gumball rubs aloe vera on Leslie, and the show directly acknowledges that because aloe vera is made of cacti.
Aloe vera?
Aloe vera? Are you insane?
What? Why?
It's made of cactus! That's like rubbing the blended remains of your cousins on your face! None of that stuff is made for use on plants!
However, that would be nothing compared to the rest of this episode. Gumball and Darwin determine the best course of action is to cut off the rotting parts and allow for regrowth later on in the spring. Leslie, understandably so, does not want to be decapitated and is chased around Elmore by the calmest versions of Gumball and Darwin I've seen within the show. Although more known for a meme, when sitting down to think about it, this is incredibly terrifying, especially if this is something you haven't done before. As Leslie runs around, he is greeted to the rest of Elmore casually mutilating plant life, which again, for a world in which almost everything is alive, is quite interesting. Leslie's face would also go on to look as worse as it ever has been towards the latter half of this episode, and being chased into a corner, after some convincing, Leslie decides to go through with this pruning, but the episode takes a different turn.
Alright then.
And that concludes our episode.
After doing so and learning of the time it will take to get back to normal, the episode ends with a headless Leslie chasing Gumball and Darwin the same way the duo did to him earlier. It is a very dark episode relative to the latter seasons of Gumball. Gumball's final destination. Although we spoke about baby Anais within the darkest depths, let us revisit the rival. As a refresher, the season 6 premiere deals with baby Anais fighting Gumball and Darwin for supremacy amongst their parents. One of the antics that Anais would do involves a game of hide and seek.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. Ready or not, here we come.
Traumatized from the experience, Darwin would be shown grabbing his soul that has both a harp and wings, bringing it back into his body, implying that he would have went to heaven. However, the episode makes it very clear that Gumball did not have to do that because his soul was not going up, but down.
Hey, where are you going?
That was terrifying.
Yeah, Well, at least your soul was going upwards.
What makes Gumball's predetermined visit to hell significant here is that we're not talking about the Gumball that you would see throughout the 6 seasons, clip shows, promo, and possibly the movie. We're talking about an episode of Gumball that takes place before all of the adventures within the show, because it is around the time of Anais's birth, which is years before the show actually begins. Gumball is not even going to Elmore Junior High, yet his fate was already determined. It makes you wonder what he did. Mrs. Robinson. A long time ago, I released a morality chart of the Amazing World of Gumball characters. Where everyone is ranked was irrelevant, but I did get a lot of flack for putting Rob in Chaotic Evil and not Mrs. Robinson. And although I still stand by my opinion there, let's talk about Margaret Robinson. The Wicked is the 18th episode of season 4 of the Amazing World of Gumball. Although the synopsis would say Gumball and Darwin try to find a single redeeming quality about their neighbor, Mrs. Robinson, it is mostly Darwin, as Gumball has accepted long ago that Mrs. Robinson is beyond redeeming. She spends the episode throwing the two under the bus and causing harm to Elmore in devious and malicious ways.
I mean, it only came through my shirt, but still. Who is responsible for this?
She does not do a single positive thing to anyone during this episode. Mr. Robinson, in reference to the Joker, describes Margaret as so. Margaret is and will always be a mystery. Nothing happened in her life to justify the way that she is. Some people aren't looking for anything logical. They can't be bought, reasoned, or negotiated with. Sometimes, man just wants to watch the world burn.
Are you saying Mrs. Robinson's a man?
What? No!
Wait, you said man once in a while.
I meant man is in mankind!
But she isn't kind.
No, I'll just get out of here.
Although Darwin and Gumball would miss the point, I do think given that we have 6 seasons of never seeing Mrs. Robinson do a single positive thing, I do think that she is just that, the embodiment of evil, the Void. How does one describe the Void? A place that most of Elmore isn't even aware exists? A place that's oddly alive enough to act as a curator for things that are unwanted? A place that would turn Banana Barbara, Molly, and Rob from side characters to important characters of the show? From the wiki, the Void is a secret dimension where characters and objects from the world, particularly Elmore, are erased from the world due to being mistakes. It is also the overarching antagonist of the show, as it is a metaphor for cancellation, given Rob's desperation to change the characters within the Inquisition.
Elmore Junior High. My name is Superintendent Evel. Let me reassure you, I did not come to this school to break you and rebuild you from the bottom up. I came to break you.
The Void harbors several things, living and unliving in what appears to be TV static. Everything from 80s Hairspray, the Keytar, an early version of the Wattersons' home, and other early models, and more prominently, Janice, Mr. Small's van.
No, the love of my life. Janice.
Mr. Small, with all due respect, how do you know that Janice didn't just leave you?
Janice could never leave without me.
In its debut episode, aptly titled The Void, Gumball, Darwin, and Mr. Small figure out that something is afoot in Elmore, particularly that a student has disappeared and no one has noticed. We learn that this student was Molly, a minor character that was heavily prominent within season 1. She would have no recollection of the fact that she was essentially ripped from her family and her home, and was frozen in time in her treehouse for a very long time.
Hi! Oh, you're okay.
We were so worried!
When we finally remembered you.
After a year.
What do you mean worried? I saw you yesterday.
Are dinosaur ears like dog ears? Like, you saw us yesterday, but it was actually a year ago?
It wasn't a year ago, right?
Mr. Smalls would also reunite with Janice. All of this happening while Gumball, Darwin, and Mr. Smalls kept tinfoil hats on as a way to retain their information and not have it sucked out of them, like it unfortunately does at the end of the episode. As I mentioned before, Banana Barbara has referenced the Void a few times, both in the Oracle and the future as primary examples, the former being through an eerie painting, and the latter, well, it's tough to speak about it without speaking about Rob. We'd also see a peek at the Void within the vegging.
You know what? Forget it.
Rob was a supporting character within the amazing world of Gumball. A bluish cyclops, he would be in the background for a lot of moments and generally was seen as a nice person. Within the episode The Pony, Gumball and Darwin would call Rob the wrong name, showing very early on that in their circle of friends, Rob is outside of it.
No! Yeah! Thanks, Rich!
Oh, I meant Ralph!
Sometime between the finale, an episode of Season 2, and The Void, an episode of Season 3, Rob was captured and sent to the Void. Within the latter episode, Gumball, Darwin, and Mr. Small do not make the trip to rescue Rob, not even aware of his existence, and thus not aware of his disappearance. As explained within The Nobody, his first major role, he escaped the Void by clutching onto the back of Janice, taking control of his existence into his own hands, becoming disfigured in the process. Unlike Gumball, Darwin, and Mr. Small, Rob does not lose his memory for some reason. Because of the way that Gumball and Darwin treated him up to that point, he turns from a minor character into a major villain of the show.
You left me disfigured, a nobody, but now you've given me a part to play in the world. I will be your worst nightmare. I will destroy everything you care about. I will take away everyone you love. I will be your nemesis.
Oh, cool.
Although it takes a while, through the events of The Nemesis and The Bus, 2 Season 4 episodes, the season would end with Rob getting a very special device that would be instrumental in opening up the Void, the Universal Remote. Although the remote had more uses, and it also come from the Awesome Store, which was mentioned before, being able to alter time and reality, we would end a disaster, the Season 4 episode, with Gumball being pushed into the Void after Rob ruined his life, but eventually saved through the events of the rerun.
You have only yourself to blame. You being the hero of all this means that I have to be the villain. But I never wanted to be the villain. I wanted to be the cute sidekick who gets his own plush toy in a spin-off show.
What are you talking about?
You really don't get it, do you? So happy to star in your amazing world. Can't you see that none of this is real?
I don't understand.
It doesn't matter. Once you're out of the picture, I can be whoever I want!
Within these 2 episodes, we see Rob experiencing his former self and having a lot of self-reflection about the person that he wants to be. Even within the rerun, he rips into Gumball, calling him the hero, saying that he's already won and to leave Rob in the Void. The Universal Remote would be one of, if not the most powerful item that we know of to come from the Awesome Store. Sometime between this, Rob both mends his relationship with Gumball, but through the events of the X, they return to being rivals, and that is what leads us to the formerly mentioned episode The Future.
Now, come on, Barbara, one more time. Work your magic. Paint the future. That's it. No! No more static!
However, her paintings only show static, which does not satisfy Rob, because he wants to be ahead of things. Rob learns of Banana Barbara's powers, realizing that while the world seems to revolve around Gumball, Banana Barbara holds on to more secrets than she claims. However, this leads into the Inquisition, where after a failed attempt at conversion, Rob tries to save Elmore from the Void, which leads into the haunting image that we've been left with, Rob falling into the Void.
Why did they stop me? Transformation is the only chance they have of escaping to the other place when this world... Oh no, it started.
Everything up to this point ends here. Regardless of the clip shows, the marathons, and the small blips of Gumball news that we have, this iceberg remains bittersweet because the conclusion so far is incomplete and unsatisfying. Despite the amount of knowledge that we have so far, and despite the theories and community garnered with the HBO Max situation and the movie being up for grabs, this may become a popular show with the cliffhanger ending. I guess time will decide. Thank you so much for watching. Special thanks to the team for helping with editing, the Neon Werewolf for the iceberg image, and my friend Matt Alamode for helping with the script. Honestly, this took a lot longer than I thought it would, and I've been working on this for the entirety of 2022 leading up to whenever this video gets put out. This was really big, and I'm really glad that you guys stuck around because there was a lot of moments where I had to stop working on regular videos to work on this, and honestly, I wouldn't have had it any other way. I wanted this to come out more than anything else, and I wanted this to be the finale for the search for the best, considering that I did the worst and I did the best, and it all ends here. From this point on, I do have a lot of Gumball content that I would love to do. This is definitely not the end of it. It just won't be packaged within the search for the best or search from the worst. Who knows? I might rank every single episode. But for right now, I have other big videos that I want to put out, so that won't be until probably 2023. As always, guys, take care. Alpha out.